Okay. Got a lot of stuff going on. I don't understand how, like, I get. I haven't done it many times, but I get a lot of people commenting and chatting when I do the live stream on my phone. I do a live stream on a computer. I don't seem to ever get anybody. Um, let's see if this did everything it was supposed to do. I should have started a little earlier. I think I put enough. Hmm. What's that alarm going off for? Lisa, I don't like that sound. That sound means you're gonna go bubble or something. I don't. I'm gonna start going through all those for sure. We are going through this. We are on. Interview tomorrow. It'll be wonderful. And that means we're on this one. We did that one. That's the last one we did. Tomorrow it'll be wonderful, and she was saying she could make it work with Lucius and everything, and I'm like, okay. Now we need to go to this one. 1, 2, 3. And we'll bring it up on YouTube. That thing running full blast and it's still not.
Who's the biggest rock star of all time? Well, this video clip right here proves that it's not who you think it is. Let me explain. I think the biggest rock star of all time is Keith Moon, the drummer from The Who. His personality, his playing, his excess were all legendary. And some of the stories about him are crazy. Like when they were first starting out, he played his drums so hard that he had to tie them to pillars around the venue with ropes so they wouldn't move. He drove a car into a pool to escape the police in Flint, Michigan. He used to throw furniture out of hotel windows, got arrested for blowing up toilets with cherry bombs. But the most legendary rock star moment for Keith Moon was when they were featured guest on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. It was a television variety show that had agreed to let them destroy their instruments like they did at every show. But he took that way too far. He took a ton of the explosive powder from fireworks and basically created a bomb that he put at the foot of his drum kit. At the pinnacle of the song, he set it off and it exploded on air. Watch this clip. Who's the biggest rock star of all time? Well, this video clip right here proves that it's not who you think it is.
I remember it. That thing running full blast and it's still not. Oh my gosh, let me try turning on this vent. Seeing everybody reacting like that. Okay. Oh, it's better to realize how high the humidity was in here. I'm boiling.
I did this one too.
I'm boiling chicken, and I didn't realize how much it was creating a steam fog. Wait a second. Gonna shoot. I'm gonna try to talk about some silly notes. Did I just erase all the ones that I was supposed to load? Oh, come on, where am I at? Shorts. No playlist. Show clips. Things just keep going on the up and up, you know, and it's a struggle and it's tough. Interview tomorrow, it'll be wonderful, and that was the last one I did. Things just keep going on the up and up, you know, and it's a struggle and it's tough and things are upsetting and people upset around. I just got to keep trying to be the light and trying to keep uplifting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of these just random notes, but that thing running full blast and it's still not. Oh my gosh, let me try turning on this vent.
So
Some of these just random notes, but I mean some of these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, maybe I didn't use one. I think there was one I didn't like. And I did 5 from him, 5 from him, 5 from him. Children's ministry. That much money that you were flashing around, I'm like, I just would like, okay. Children's ministry in B-Shock. I feel like I'm. Oh man, I don't know what I missed. But I'm sure. That thing running full blast and it's still not. Try to talk about some more silly notes. But I'm sure we did the same thing that many other people have done all throughout history. That in this country, anyways, probably other countries now too, whatnot. But so that was the last one I did. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's how I did it. So now we have to go back down to this one. This one. And broadcast is started. My voice is starting to come back. Like it's still, I can feel not quite. Okay. This one. Options, download, What am I doing? All right. Now we're gonna go pick up our pizza. What you doing behind a CP54, honey? What you doing behind a CP54? How you like CP54, oh boy? It's just a CP54, come on, honey. Okay. Alright, I don't have to. I don't have a drawstring on this one, so I can't make it tight. Shit. Let's just put our pants on. Let's put our pants on, honey. How about that? And then I'll put my pajama pants back on. Yeah. We'll go for a little walk, get our pizza and our wings. Yeah. Ding-a-ling. You're just a little ding-a-ling, sexy dinner. It's just a ding-a-ling, ding-a-dong, the ding-a-ding-dong. Think I'm gonna put my hoodie on. You'll be alright, won't you? You know, you don't need to wear your hoodie, yeah. I'm gonna go walk, get your pizza, come back. Need some wingy dingies with daddy. You always eat a little wingy, couple wingy dingies, don't you? I try to give you a little bit of white meat. Yeah. 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 Let's go get a pizza. What do you think about getting a pizza? Don't you start. Don't you start. Hey. Stop it, little boy. These in. Perfect. Yeah, I smell something good, Daddy. I smell something really good. What's some? Oh, shoot.
Or against one of these major factions or the people that run the country, then they destroy you. And they don't play fair. It's open political warfare. They manipulate and bend the rules of the system, and it's lawfare. Or it's a smear campaign. They hire a private investigator. They try to get blackmail on you. Project Veritas just came out, I think it was last week, and they said that the DOJ, it was Bill Barr, someone associated with Bill Barr, saying
targeting Candace Owens.
exactly, and saying we need to get blackmail. Exactly, on Candace Owens. So whether it's defamation suit against you or blackmail against Candace Owens, or the many hit pieces about me promoted on Influenceable, calling me a Fed, simultaneously while I'm being attacked by the federal government, they have a full menu, a full spectrum of options, and you realize you don't really have freedom, and that's why I think James O'Keefe actually had a great clip about this from now he's at OMG. O'Keefe Media Group. He said, what is the truth worth to you? He said, the price has to be your life, because if it isn't, they will buy you out, they will threaten you, they will intimidate you, and this is why we don't have sovereignty. This is why
This is kind of like any else in the Property Law Center, Minnesota Property Law Center. Hire one of our employees, but every 10 years, infiltrate, jack into all the cameras for a year. Now, nothing corrupt watching us. We don't have like in the rooms, in the hallways, and outside. And then just publish it all. Totally illegal, totally criminal. We're filing suit on them. Like, probably within a week, all of them. But civil rights violations, conspiracy against rights, all around the DOJ. But I saw you on a clip from a few days ago. I don't know when you did it, but I watched a lot of shows. I was using these clips. You were explaining, like, they go through and they hire these people, and they, like Jared Holt, and and then they contact everybody in your family, everybody you know. They find somebody to then pay them off to go lie about you. I mean, this is people. We're not playing victim here. We need to know how nasty these people are. And people say, "Oh, why don't more people stand up?" Because when you become prominent, folks, they literally come after you and stomp the living hell out of you.
You're so right that it isn't about victimization, because I get that a lot. I talk about these things and people say, oh, you're playing the victim, or oh, you're complaining. And you're right, it's about explaining the anatomy of our political system, which is when there is dissent, when you go against the system, this is how, in almost like, it's like a blueprint, in excruciating detail, this is how they will escalate it, this is how they will respond to that, and this is how they operate. It's nonprofits funded by billionaires, and in some cases even funded by Congress, funded by the State Department, and they're hired for the sake of, they call it information war.
I haven't been hungry like that since I've been out here.
Extremism,
I started walking back from the pizza place and I ate like 2 slices before I got back here.
technological ways of describing it.
I ate the little teeny tiny slices and not like they're big enough.
Anybody that gains influence and is against the system. And you're right, they have a menu of options like that, whether it's they pull up the clips and they're going to use that to attack your reputation, or they're going to find an echo, they're going to find a plaintiff, and they're going to bring a case against you, which is what happened in your case. Or they'll just straight up kill you, which, who knows what happened at my house a year ago, or what happened to Charlie Kirk for that matter, or what happened to a lot of these different people. That's how they operate. And people just need to understand that something is fundamentally wrong with the society. So, I mean, to me, having done this for 10 years, that's kind of the stark realization. That's what shocks people the most. Because I do these interviews with
What's up,
That's
Beggy
the
Bear?
whole point. They have literally unlimited money to throw at the best law firms, or it's the government, and they're funded by the taxpayer. And so people just have no
Making
clue.
licky kissy faces.
It's not working anymore. Populists are winning all over the planet. People are going super hardcore against the establishment. A, do you agree with that? And then B, does the establishment realize how much trouble they're in? And then C, I've been sent this article like 3 times over the last day. Not this one before. Oh, Nick Fuentes is two-faced. Nick Fuentes says one thing on one show, one thing on another. No, I say stuff they take out of context, and they say, oh, look what he sent us over here. I know what you do. Sometimes you make jokes and stuff they out of context. But now they're going to say, like, he's deceiving people because you have, these multiple faces. And they tried that with me as well. You want to explain that?
Yeah, I
Can't
saw
decide
that
which
in
box
Free
I'm gonna
Press.
save
I
if I'm
couldn't
gonna
even
save
read
either
this
box.
behind
I'm
a
gonna
paywall,
get a
but
piece of.
I've been getting this for 10
The
years.
only piece
He
of
used to
this
be on
I'm
the
gonna do.
Wikipedia page, and they would say he uses jokes and irony to conceal his real viewpoints. He really is a Nazi, but you never know it because he acts like a really nice guy and has reasonable viewpoints when you talk to him on a show. And it's almost like you have to then go back and explain the concept of like jokes or context. And Ben Shapiro did this a couple weeks ago. He played some of my clips on his stream, and every single one was about 4 seconds. Yeah, I think the average duration of the clips he played was between 4 and 6 seconds. I do a 3-hour stream 5 nights a week for 10 years. And what happens in a
Let me
show
just say
is
this,
everyone
now,
knows.
newsflash. If you're ever watching a show, my show, anybody's, and you're seeing 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds, you're being deceived. That's why the average clip we play is like 3 minutes. Folks, that is the ultimate way to deceive. And they've done that over and over again. Expand on that.
And we're so right, and it should go without saying. Because divorced from context, you can make anything sound like anything. And
Oh,
they'll
in my
even
show
do it
trials, they would play like 4-second clips.
I remember it well. And, it's no different than when you take something which is being said in jest and then you read out the transcript. And so they'll take a clip where I'm laughing and grinning and I'm being funny, and I might even say at the other side of it, I might say, no, I'm just kidding, obviously, blah, blah, blah. But when you cut that out and then read the transcript, they say, this guy's he's pro-rape, pro-genocide, pro-Hitler, blah, blah, blah. And then they say,
Expand
go
on
on
that.
a
I saw you a
show.
few months ago, and even some of the Kroger's to score points did it. You were like explaining, and maybe we're wrong now. You're like, look, there's no evidence Israel killed Kirk. If there is, we'll expose it. We don't know yet. And you people saying I work for Israel are idiots, and you're low IQ and you're morons. Maybe I'll just join the Jews. At least they're organized. You were being sarcastic. They all went crazy and said, oh God, he works for the Jews. It's like, no, it's the point of making the issue. Like, am I on the wrong team? You people are so dumb.
Okay.
So exactly, but even they still ran with it because it's this cheap trick thing. I would never take a 5-second clip just to have a big hit and live on something. I don't want to be discredited. I want to
Oh,
actually
it
be
sucks
honest.
so much.
It's
When
really
I
a big
eat
problem.
wings, I get my.
It's a huge problem, and the good news is I think people are starting to wake up because I see these kind of out of context clips, and I see all the comments are saying, "Oh, nice, you edited
my
it down
mouse
to
hand
8
dirty.
seconds. What's that all about?" So I think people are starting to become aware. That being said, I don't think that will ever go out of fashion because the vast majority of people have such a limited attention span and are quick to judge and everything like that. It's
Should
just a
listen to it.
tragedy of the comments. It's just how people are. Tragedy of the masses, of the goy. That's just how they operate. So on some level, we're always going to have that, but I think people are starting to smarten up and see what's going on because that kind of stuff just doesn't happen.
I just don't hear things right all the time. And it's this one frequency. And it's in one of my ears. And that's what throws it off. It's like there's a certain tone of voice or range or frequency or something of sound when people hit it and say it. And when it tries to reach me, I can hear it in one of my ears. But my other ear doesn't like pick it up right for some reason. And that's why I hear funny shit sometimes. But also people hear funny shit all the time anyways. They just don't always say it out loud like I do. But I'll hear some weird shit. I wish I could remember all the silly, funny things I thought I heard people hear throughout my life. That is just so... that's like one thing. It's like, that's because it's always the funniest thing. It's like, did you just say I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but it's like, did you say silly tooting whistle monster or something like that? And it's like, no, I said I'm going to take the girl to the grocery store counter or something. You know what I mean? It's like just something. It's so funny. I love that shit. I wish I could write and remember all those moments.
Same currency anymore. And I think that we should play the same game. We do the same thing. The difference is we take people at their word. When Mark Levin goes up at RJC, which he did a few weeks ago, and he says, well, we're going to make our decisions. We're going to see who's associating with who, and we cancel people all the time. It's like, okay, so we're going to take that clip and we're going to blow it up everywhere. And the difference is that is true to what you're actually saying and actually believe.
The difference
So
is it's a 2-minute clip. Yeah, it's a context. So let me raise that point. How pathetic is it for Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, who literally have 5% of their previous audience? They even admit that. What must it be like with all their billionaire backers to know the whole world's turned against them, and instead they double down and become a stereotype?
it has to be very sad. I can't imagine what it's like working in one of those offices, a Daily Wire, because you got to remember, and I know you do, Mark Levin and Shapiro, these guys were on top 10 years ago. Certainly Mark Levin, he had a huge radio show.
They were
Back when
supporting
radio.
four shots. They were supporting taking me off the air. I never forget it.
Oh, yeah, and every war you can imagine, and the rhinos and everything. And Shapiro was supposed to be the wonder kid. He was supposed to be the next generation. And now you look at their show. I think I watched a Daily Wire live stream. It was a 4-way stream with all their hosts, Walsh, Knowles, Clavin, Shapiro. And I think put together they had 1,000 concurrent viewers, 1,000 on YouTube with their millions of subscribers, all the channels simultaneously streaming. They couldn't get 1,000 concurrent viewers. And you got to say, wow, I mean, how far they have fallen. So it's got to be very depressing. And all they know how to do is double down. This would be the opportunity where you debate someone like me, or you go to Turning Point and you debate Tucker, like whatever.
Yeah, let's raise
This
that.
would be
Remember
the
the
moment.
headline, I'm bigger than you, Tucker. I won't legitimize you. Tucker's like 50 times bigger. I'm not going to debate you. Like, how cowardly to not go debate him. And then say, because Tucker said, when Israel says illegal, he goes, how dare you threaten my stepson? If I see you in person, I'm going to kick your ass. Didn't say anything about his stepson. He sounds completely unhinged.
They are unhinged, and that's because they don't know how to do anything other than double down. They have not had to defend their positions for probably their entire lives. And they are used to getting away with everything and being above scrutiny and above skepticism. They didn't have to defend their position. And in the past, all they would do is these kinds of word games that we've all figured out now. And the doubling down, more aggressive, more intensity. And, they're throwing out that old playbook and it just isn't working anymore. So actually, sir, it would be pitiable if they weren't the worst people in the world. And by that, I mean these people like Levin and Shapiro, who are so nasty and so hateful. I mean, honestly, the most hateful people in the country. It would be sad if they didn't act like that. So, I think they're finished. I don't know where the next audience is. Even if they engage in censorship, even if they engage in some of these kind of convoluted things that they're trying to do now, I don't know what audience under the age of 75 is ever going to watch Mark Levin ever again, or what audience under the age of 35 or 40 is going to watch Shapiro. I just think it's cooked. And once the toothpaste comes out of the tube, it doesn't go back in. So the idea that people are going to come back around because Matt Walsh and Shapiro are talking about McDonald's and Burger King or AI, it just isn't going to happen. So, that's why I think they really either need to engage and they need to admit, okay, we lost the country. We're going to have to humbly engage them and persuade them to get it back and make an argument. And that might hasten their demise.
Tells everybody, because here's my deal. You and I both, without even talking, punitive Hitler Kurt's kill. We're like, we can't say Israel did it. Whole thing was suspicious. Let's figure it out. Then you have Levin and all them saying, watch out, we're going to get you. We're going to take, all these other bizarre, threatening statements. And then you have to start asking, well, then maybe people are right to say that. But look at this. ISI invited students to dinner with Alex Jones and Tucker. You have Levin, this is just today, like he said he would do 2 weeks ago, running around policing a college, showed my interview at dinner with Young Conservatives with Tucker a month and a half ago, thrown out of college. I mean, doesn't he know the Streisand effect of that? Like he's picking on college students because they watched an interview with Mia Tucker that was all about Russia and China, but wasn't really about Israel. This is crazy power tripping here. This will make all the students even more want to watch us.
I would say that. I think there's definitely some truth to that because people are going to see this and say this. It's going to turn a lot of people against Levin and Shapiro and that crowd. Here's what I will say though: as long as they hold all the cards, this will work. And Ross Douthat at New York Times, he said it explicitly in the New York Times a few weeks ago. He's ostensibly a conservative. He said, "How do we fight Nick Fuentes and the Groypers?" He said, "Well, we've already lost the social media battle. We're not going to have control over censorship and blacklisting in the way that we did 5 years ago." He said, "So that's over. We need to retreat." He said, "What we can control is these bottlenecks." He said, "We can control who is hired, who is promoted, who is accepted inside the institutions of power." So he said that is where we still have influence. That is where we can still have some degree of gatekeeping power. So he said we can control who works in think tanks, who works in congressional offices, who works on campaigns. And I would imagine that also extends to who gets to be in college, who gets to be at these college
Well,
Republicans.
what's amazing
And
is,
this,
I agree, he said that, I remember you covering it, but this is a major strategic retreat.
it is, it certainly is, but my point is we have to press the advantage with precision because a lot of people are going to fall back and say, "Oh, well, this is going to backfire. They're just making people hate them more."
had to eat.
You know, and so and they'll say, "Oh, it's a Streisand effect, so we're winning." And I would say we need to, if they're retreating, we need to press the advantage and say all the more reason. Get in college Republicans, get on campaigns, get in the congressional offices, the think tanks, ISI. Eye your power level. They're going to retreat back to that. We have to storm and break down that wall too and penetrate the inner sanctum because that they're guarding it because that's where the treasure is. They're guarding it because that's where the power is. So I totally agree with you. It's a huge retreat, huge tactical defeat on their part, but it's not enough to now say, "Oh, okay, well the genie doesn't we won the argument. Everyone's against them. We now need the
Man, that
right
had to happen.
people in the right places."
Sooner than later.
And those are the places they're trying to gatekeep
No,
and
I agree.
defend.
If you
So,
look at all the
Man.
the CIA and all of it,
Oh man.
50, 60,
I was
70s,
hungry.
they went in to take over the colleges to control conservatism. So they're basically retreating into the neocons back to their first redoubt. Like you said, like a rigged city. They're going back to their final fortress. I just wish to bypass the whole thing and just make it about Americana, free market, America first, and just not have it about a fight about that. But they're making it about that. And so, regardless as long as we press the attack, what do they do?
Alright.
Do they ever capitulate, or they just get more and more radical?
How the hit the bowl ball?
it's hard to say. It's unpredictable. And I think that
Put
so
some
far
stuff on my
they've
lips
shown
and
their
really
hand,
get to
which is
work
they only
here.
get more radical. I don't see a lot of capitulation
Oh.
at all. And I don't even see a willingness to capitulate. It's like you said, they're actually emotionally unhinged. It's personal for them. You look at a guy like Shapiro and Mark Levin, they're like foaming at the mouth, like they're angry, they're furious. And so I think they're only going to keep doubling down. And I think we have to keep matching their ferocity. Not with hatred and not with violence or cruelty, but we have to match their ferocity with righteousness. And I'm with you. It's got to be about America. It's got to be about God. It's got to be about all the things that we love. But we have to match the intensity
All
on
right,
the other
Nick J.
side.
Fuentes on Rumble. Let's come back. The other big topics, calls, and comments. Stay with us.
Right now on thealexjones.com, you get buy one, get one free for any supplement. That includes our incredible ultramethylene
Oh.
blue, either the tincture or the capsules, as well as the Shilajit gummies, the Colostrum Plus, the Bovine Colostrum Plus, the Irish Sea Moss gummies. I mean, there's a lot.
I had to do that one more time.
Here in
Alright.
the studio with Patrick Byrne. I know you're a big
That's
fan
it.
of the
Put it
ultramethylene
away.
blue. Right now, that's buy one, get one free. All
For now.
supplements, buy one, get one free. It's the Black Friday early
I know.
sale at the Alex
And
Jones.
you were like, hey.
We have a new deal. It's the Hat of the Month Club, where you can sign up and get a new
Who's
hat
the hat
every
of the
month,
month?
which is very fun. Of course, Christmas is coming up, folks. It'll be here before you know it. So do your Christmas shopping for the Info Warriors in your life. Patrick, you still all hopped up on methylene blue?
I am. I still for a bottle every time I come. You guys pay me with all blue. And when it's been more than 60 days since I've been here, so I run out.
We're about to rock and roll, baby. We're about to fuck some shit up. That's for sure.
Alright, your phone calls. Gilbert, Joel, Chad, Charles, Andrew, Clown Car, Jacob. You were on before, Nick, but these are all topics you can comment on anything. Smart guy. We want to hit Venezuela. We want to hit a lot of the other stuff that's happening. But in the short segment, all the trajectory Israel's on, the most unpopular country in the world now, they have nuclear weapons. The Samson option. I don't want to destroy Israel. I just want Israel to stop putting everybody on a collision course, but just looking at where this goes, the doubling down, it doesn't look good for Israel in just a few years. Because I've seen you say, oh, the young people are all right wing or left wing anti-Israel. It's not just young people, it's massively moving into the middle-aged and even old people.
Look at
it's a
that,
chain reaction.
precious,
So,
most beautiful little boy.
looking at this, where do you see Israel in 10 years?
Your hair feels so good right
I think
now.
it really depends on the outcome of the current conflict
You're
because
hiding.
it would seem that after 2023 they're doing this go for broke once and for all campaign
Well, go
to
give you
destroy
any
all of their
medicine.
enemies.
You don't
which
need
they-
any medicine
which I think they
anymore,
believe
buddy.
are
You're so
important in
good.
Iran. So that's Hezbollah, that's the Assad regime, these Shiite groups in Iraq, Syria, and also the Houthis. If they are successful in decapitating the Iranian regime, denuclearizing them, they'll be able to roll back these proxies. And what they're talking about is a significant expansion. Today, Netanyahu came out and said they want a demilitarized zone from Damascus to the Purple Zone. So they want southern Syria. They want southern Lebanon, south of the Litani River. They want the West Bank and Gaza. That's a pretty significant expansion of Israeli territory. And if they're successful in taking out Iran and they're able to get this kind of control over the region, it's going to be enormously profitable for them. It's going to be profitable because they would be the leader of the Abraham Alliance, and so all the AI and the energy revenue, all the sovereign wealth that is in the Gulf, it's going to flow into Israel. They'll be the leader, and they'll also benefit from the trade routes, from the Belt and Road, from the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. So I think that one pathway is that they could be extremely successful if they're able to make this happen. The other path, if they're not able to, then you're right, they're going to be completely ostracized. They have earned no goodwill from any of their neighbors or the rest of the world. Turkey is against them. Saudi Arabia is unhappy with them. Qatar got bombed by them. And if Iran remains in power, like there's never going to be a reconciliation between those countries. And of course, now they're alienated with Americans, and they're not going to count on that unconditional support. So I think that it really all goes down to whether they're going to be successful, because if they're not, they're going to be in real trouble, and they're going to have to repair all those relations over time, and it's going to cost them a lot of political capital. Even Egypt is unhappy with them. I forgot to throw that one in there. So I would say that right now the jury is still out, and this is why I'm very deeply concerned about what is happening with the Trump administration, because Israel knows the stakes, Netanyahu knows the stakes, and whether Netanyahu stays or goes, whether he gets the next prime minister will know it too. And the question is there enough of an understanding in the Trump administration, enough energy and pushback that they're going to be able to restrain Israel and keep them from kind of driving the traffic here for the United States. So that's kind of my tenure.
In all the demographics, Israel, the most unpopular country in the world, it's getting worse by the minute. How do they respond to that?
Increasingly, I think that they are decoupling from the United States. This is why even they say they don't want the foreign aid
You
anymore.
alright, buddy?
They want
What?
a 20-year memorandum of understanding, and they're going to, like all the other middle powers, they're going to have to play both sides. I think they're going to have to play China, India off of the United States, which is what the other countries do. It's what Saudi Arabia does. It's what Turkey does. It's what Brazil does, and I think that's kind of treacherous. But this is how they play. So they're losing support from us. They'll try and pick it up from the other countries, and they're a super power, right? So I don't think they'll have trouble picking up investment or political support from the East, from the other bloc. So I think like everybody else, they're
But back in 60 seconds, to think about that, then you have the Christian Zionists that literally say our souls depend on supporting Israel, and Israel's literally laughing at you. It's absolutely insane. Nick Fuentes is our guest. Your calls, your comments, so much more news coming up. 60 seconds. Stay with us.
processing that food fast.
liberty and freedom in the animating contest in the war against the tyrants. We are unified by our spirit that God made and our connection to the Creator of the universe and our children. And this is the genesis point of the new revolution of information. I will always believe and I will always say in public that Alex Jones is the most extraordinary person I've ever met. I'll tell you, that fucking guy is right about a lot of shit.
Alex
That's
Jones has
cool.
been right a lot of times.
Alex has been right on for over a decade.
Fluoride, just like Alex Jones was saying, not good. It's crazy.
The real war's here with the globalists and Soros and the new war in BlackRock. They've declared war on us, and we accept the challenge. We're taking the country back.
AlexJones.network is tomorrow's news today.
So when I say this isn't hype. And I'm not glazing Nick Fuentes or trying to pump his ego. He knows
You know
this.
why my
He
brain
knows I'm public.
freezes up like that
I get
sometimes?
multiple calls a day from high-powered people that want me to tell them, is Nick Fuentes good or bad or what's going on with him? And most of the time they go, I heard he's this horrible person. That actually went and saw what he said, and I agree with him. I mean, even take Steve Bannon, saw his debate with Esther Sousa, and I liked it actually the next 25 years. Wiped the floor with him. Dinesh had a bunch of talking points, and I know some stuff, and I know the countries, and I know everything Nick said was true. But, his knowledge comes and goes. I mean, I couldn't muster up 10% of what he does. Of course, he's 26, so he's got that young brain. But I know he's right, and Steve Bannon does. So you got to give respect where it's due. And Nick didn't support it when I got censored. Everybody else basically did. So, but I did call Nick about a month before Kirk got killed. And I said under the whole conversation, but I said, let me tell you, you and Charlie Kirk are the future. And I said, I'm not a cowardly person. I don't live in fear. I just said, I have a feeling. I said, you need to be very, very careful. And you need to really watch yourself and don't put yourself in danger for no reason. And, Nick, listen to me. But
What on
there's an
that?
understanding of the zeitgeist I always have. And it's so healthy what Nick's done. People try to guilt me
We're
having Nick
working on
Fuentes
this
on. Every time I have him on, I get hundreds of emails, calls. What are you doing having the Hitler on? And I made the joke, maybe Hillary was there with Kanye.
now.
And I'm just like, look at this compilation. In fact,
From the house in Shelbyville, when was the first time I moved? I think the first time I moved was when I thought like, yeah, me and my girlfriend at the time were gonna, make something happen. First I moved in with her over at, she would come over to my house all the time, and then I moved out towards her way and started, because that's where it was closer to my wrestling and my training out there. So I moved in with her in her parents' house, and I was just finding whatever side work I could do. I worked for Van Hammer's stepdad for a little while, and just doing stuff around the yard. I cleaned their horse shit. That was the first thing. That's how I asked if I could start working with them. Hammer was showing us around, me and some of the other guys I wrestled with, around the barn and stuff in his ring and this and that, and what he planned on doing and moving it and all this and everything. And I was walking around the yard, I just saw all the horse shit everywhere and hadn't been cleaning in a while, and I was like, yo, he's like, that's what I'm talking about. How do you guys like that? And you're like, we're going to figure out how to pay your bill, you're going to fucking work and do it. I'm like, yeah, man, I got to do something. So I wheelbarrowed and cleaned up all that, and I worked for a stepdad for a little while, shoveling stuff, staining stuff, moving stuff, and then eventually I got a job working with my girlfriend at the time everywhere and had been cleaning in a while, and I was like, yo, he's like, that's what I'm talking about. How do you guys like that? And you're like, we're going to figure out how to pay your bill, you're going to fucking work and do it. I'm like, yeah, man, I got to do something. So I wheelbarrowed and cleaned up all that, and I worked for a stepdad for a little while, shoveling stuff, staining stuff, moving stuff, and then eventually I got a job working with my girlfriend at the time's brother, doing gutter. Stuff in his ring and this and that, and what he planned on doing and moving it and all this and everything. And I was walking around the yard, I just saw all the horse shit everywhere and hadn't been cleaning in a while. And I was like, yo, you know, he's like, that's what I'm talking about. I need guys like that. And you're like, we're going to figure out how to pay your bill. You're going to fucking work and do it. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, man, I got to do something. So I wheelbarrowed and cleaned up all that, and I worked for a stepdad for a little while, shoveling stuff, staining stuff, moving stuff, and then eventually I got a job working with my girlfriend at the time's brother, doing gutter and installation.
Okay, Google. Spell insulation.
INSULATION.
Hey, your bill, you're gonna fucking work and do it. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, man, I gotta do something. So I wheelbarrowed and cleaned up all that, and I worked for a stepdad for a little while, shoveling stuff, staining stuff, moving stuff, and then eventually I got a job working with my girlfriend at the time's brother, doing gutter and installation.
Elon Musk put this out, and I'm not gonna play the whole thing. It's like 5 minutes of headlines, mainstream news saying whites are inherently degenerate, our genetics are bad, we're scum, we should be eradicated, and I have all the videos of the professors and them saying it. And so you can't point your finger at Nick Fuentes then and say because he stands up for himself he's bad, but he's mild compared to other people. But that's why they don't like him, is because he's intellectually defeating them. Hitler was a race-based monopolist eugenics person, but he didn't publicly say all this stuff. The left goes further than Hitler in their declaration of war against white people. Now, I'll tell you, I got black listeners, Hispanic listeners, everybody, I love them, and they love me. And what's crazy is they see Nick and they get it because they actually watch Nick and what he says rather than what they say Nick said. But it really is the David versus Goliath story to watch them throw everything they've got at Nick, and he just gets stronger. And I'll say this, I always admire people who I know have gone through what I've gone through and gone through, in some cases, worse things than I have, and myself other things, but it's the fellow traveler thing. And it's so exciting to be persecuted and to know God's real and come through it. But Nick, what is it coming out of BlackRock, coming out of the leftist Jewish lobby, all of it, that is anti-European? What is it? Why does it keep happening? And don't they know that it was going to conjure? They're lucky they got a Nick Fuentes. In fact, even Tucker said, he's pretty moderate and smart and intellectual. There's things you think Nick Fuentes is dangerous. There's a lot more dangerous things you're conjuring up. I mean, I can imagine. It's like some right-wing Islamic alliance or something in the future. I mean, it's crazy that these people go for total power. They see anything else that's successful as a threat. Whereas if something's successful, I just want to work with it and adopt it and be part of it. I don't get mad, that somebody's got something better than what I've got. I just want to be part of it. Now I can see if I was refused and rebuffed it, but that's a long rant, though. But what is it like to persevere and come through all this? So I have a few peers, you're definitely one of them, and way younger than us. It's amazing. Because at 26, I had a big show, but nothing like 6 you've had. So it's very paradoxical because there's very few people that have done what I've done, and then you've done stuff even more at your age. I just have told you, you need to keep yourself alive, buddy. Because let me tell you, this is a serious situation. So that's quite a rant there. It's a lot of questions there. How do you want to respond to it?
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and likewise, you know, over the years we've had sort of a strange relationship over many different issues and things, like when we did Yay 24 and a lot of different things. And I know that we have our disagreements. I think we generally agree on most things, though. And I know that some of your people criticize me.
For, you know, I don't even know how old I was, teenager, though. I think it was probably even in middle school at one time, or high school possibly. But but just drinking pots of coffee, just a pot of coffee, sitting there, and because you just didn't want to go to sleep, you wanted to level up, you wanted to help the team, you wanted to, and it just. Michael was like my cousin that I played with. He was a Fremen, I believe, if I remember correctly. Fremen, I believe, if I remember correctly. I was Harkonnen. I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I was Harkonnen. I was like, oh, that'd be cool, be bad. I was like, oh, they were tough as shit. He did a bunch of drugs and shit, and I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, that'd be cool, be bad. I was like, oh, they were tough as shit. He did a bunch of drugs and shit, and I thought it was cool. And really fun. But then, like, when World of Warcraft came out and those types of games, he did a bunch of drugs and shit, and I thought it was cool. And really fun. But was like my cousin that I played with. He was a Fremen, I believe, if I remember correctly. I was Harkonnen. I was like, oh, that'd be cool, be bad. I was like, oh, they were tough as shit. He did a bunch of drugs and shit, and I thought it was cool. And really fun. But then, like, once World of Warcraft came out and those types of games, it was like, oh my god, you just suck. I wonder how bad the fucking shit is on that first one. World of Warcraft came out and those types of games, it was like, oh my god, you just sucked right the fuck into it. I played that shit so much. We drank and played and fucking, oh my gosh. I just don't hear things right all the time. And it's this one frequency. And it's in one of my ears, and that's what throws it off. It's like there's a certain tone of voice or range or frequency or something with sound when people hit it and say it, and when it tries to reach me, I can hear it in one of my ears, but my other ear doesn't like pick it up right for some reason, and that's why I hear funny shit sometimes. But also, people hear funny shit all the time, anyways. They just don't always say it out loud like I do. But I'll hear some weird shit. I wish I could remember all the silly, funny things I thought I heard people hear throughout my life. That is just so. That's like what they say. That's because it's always the funniest thing. It's like, did you just say? I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but it's like, did you say silly tooting whistle monster or something like that? And it's like, no, I said I'm going to take the girl to the grocery store counter or something. You know what I mean? It's like just something. It's so funny. I love that shit. I wish I could write and remember all those moments. Times. But also people hear funny shit all the time anyways. They just don't always say it out loud like I do. But I'll hear some weird shit. I say it out loud like I do. But I'll hear some weird shit. I wish I could remember all the silly, funny things I thought I heard people hear throughout my life. That is just so. That's like what they say. That's because it's always the funniest thing. It's like, did I heard people hear throughout my life? That is just so. That's like what they say. That's because it's always the funniest thing. It's like, did you just say? I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but it's like, did you say silly tooting whistle monster or something like that? And it's like, no, I said I'm going to take the girl to the grocery store counter or something. You know what I mean? It's like just something. It's so funny. I love that shit. I wish I could write and remember all those moments. They just don't always say it out loud like I do. But I'll hear some weird shit. I wish I could remember all the silly, funny things I thought I heard people hear throughout my life. That is just so. That's like what they say. That's because it's always the funniest thing. It's like, did you just say? I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but it's like, did you say silly tooting whistle monster or something like that? And it's like, no, I said I'm going to take the girl to the grocery store counter or something. You know what I mean? It's like just something. It's so funny. I love that shit. I wish I could write and remember all those moments. People hear throughout my life. That is just so. That's like what they say. That's shit. I wish I could remember all this silly, funny things I thought I heard people hear throughout my life. That is just so. That's like what they say. That's because it's always the funniest thing. It's like, did you just say? I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but it's like, did you say silly tooting whistle monster or something like that? And it's like, no, I said I'm going to take the girl to the grocery store counter or something. You know what I mean? It's like just something. It's so funny. I love that shit. I wish I could write and remember all those moments. The funniest thing. It's like, did you just say? I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but it's like, did you say silly tooting whistle monster or something like that? And it's like, no, I said I'm going to take the. I thought I heard people hear throughout my life. That is just so. That's like what they say. That's because it's.
Some of my people criticize you, but I think there's always been a mutual respect because we're both on the same journey in a sense. We're both taking the hits, and we've both been kind of through the gamut of what they've thrown at us. And I think you way more than me, the way they're coming for your company, and this $1 billion lawsuit is totally insane. So I totally agree with that. As far as where the right wing is headed with the anti-white stuff and how I feel about it, I started my show 10 years ago because as the youngest guy, as the 18-year-old, now I'm not even the youngest guy, I'm a younger guy, but I'm not the youngest. But as an 18-year-old coming of age during the Trump election and the rise of the alt-right, and really at the, I would say at the peak of
You know,
wokeness,
I don't know how old I was. Teenager, though. I think it was probably even in middle school one time, or high school possibly. But I but just drinking pots of coffee, just a pot of coffee, sitting there, and because you just didn't want to go to sleep, you wanted to level up, you wanted to help the team, you wanted to, and it just. Michael was like my cousin that I played with. He was a Fremen, I believe, if I remember correctly. I was Harkonnen. I was like, oh, that'd be cool, be bad. I was like, oh, they were tough as shit. He did a bunch of drugs and shit, and I thought it was cool and really fun. But then, like, once World of Warcraft came out and those types of games, it was like, oh my god, and you just sucked right the fuck into it. I played that shit so much. We drank and played and fucking, oh my gosh.
synonymous with anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-straight white male. People my age at that time just had our finger on the pulse. We said our entire life we had been indoctrinated with this diversity stuff, and increasingly it was becoming less pro-black and brown and much more anti-white. And people forget how bad it was. I mean, I have to remind people, I have to remind myself that in 2017, it felt like history was moving in one direction and nothing on earth could change its course. And it was going to be more anti-white, more anti-male, more anti-Christian, more degenerate. And it did keep going in that direction for many years. It went from pro-gay to pro-trans. It went from, pro-black to this BLM insanity. Everything was getting worse. And I remember at that time, it straight up radicalized me. Because I said anti-white, hey, I'm white. And I'm proud to be white, and white people built the country. All the kind of stuff that is mainstream now, back then it was super controversial. To say something is wrong here. Like, why is it okay to only attack white people and say white people should have fewer kids, they're going extinct, and that's a good thing. They're going to become a minority, and then Republicans can never win again. I said this is shocking and outrageous, and it seems like no one's talking about it. I distinctly remember realizing that whites would become a minority in America, and thinking about the political ramifications first, thinking about how that would empower Democrats forever. And I remember thinking, am I the only one who has discovered this? Like, why isn't anyone doing anything about this? I remember reading like Ann Coulter and Pat Buchanan and those people at that time and saying, there has to be surely some effort by Republicans to reverse this or fight it, and it just wasn't happening. I had to go out and do it myself. And I did that by supporting the Trump movement and then making it a little edgier, a little bit more radical.
Do you think there's a second, third order thing with the social engineers, or were they that arrogant to think this wouldn't have a backlash? Because now the backlash is so powerful. I know they're scared.
Right.
I think it really was arrogance, and maybe you would ascribe more of an intention behind it than I would. But I think at that time it was just straight up hubris, because the left was totally dominant and they controlled Hollywood and they controlled the media, and the Republican Party was a horrible brand. You know, in 2014, who wanted to be a Republican? Nobody. The Republican Party was corny and stodgy and lame, and people thought it represented the rich and like crazy evangelicals. I mean, that's what Hollywood would say about it. It was a horrible brand. Even Republicans didn't like it. And then Trump came around in 2016 and turned all that on its head, because he's a celebrity, billionaire, objectively cool, and he basically took the Republican Party and made it the winning brand and defeated the Democrats.
And now he's given up so much of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's forfeited that. You know, but so no, I think that they really just got too cocky and they made a lot of unforced errors, and they gave up the game to Trump. And over 10, 12 years, Trump has totally.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm sure you've noticed something. Talking about it. Have you seen the record numbers of black people, Hispanics, and others that listen to you and me that actually get it? I mean,
I have, yeah.
Well, what's going on there?
Well, I think that, you know, it's funny because there's a lot of people that.
I think it's a sense of fairness.
I don't know that it's fairness. I think it's more that they're not woke. Honestly, I think that blacks and browns are not woke like white people are. And by that I mean, if you
They're
and
not
I
into the
say,
guilt. They're not into the leftist religion.
well, the guilt and the sensitivity, you know, like with white people, if you say something racist, sexist,
Just making this video real quick for the company that makes these.
are going to freak out. They're going to
It's diverse, or whatever. See, it's cracked there, and it's just spraying everywhere. All I did was fucking just making this video real quick for the company that makes these.
I'm not one of these woke tards. They love it. And I think Hispanics is the same way. And they're also pretty conservative. Like I know that's like a meme, but it's true that Hispanics and blacks have always been very socially conservative. They're
So
not
the
down
communists
with
got pissed they couldn't get the blacks to become communists in this country.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, blacks are socialist, but they're not down with this, like, LGBT feminist stuff. They're not down with the pronoun. Like, they're not with that. And yeah, they want more government programs, like, they think everything should be free, but they also don't want to be preached to by some, like, white Jewish liberal woman or some, like, white beta male bisexual guy. Like, they don't want to deal with that kind of thing. And I think, you know, maybe they don't agree with me on everything, but they say, oh, I like this guy because he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care about the political correctness. In many ways, that's why they respect Trump. They kind of just respect someone that's a G, you know, someone that doesn't care as much about that stuff. So I think it's an attitude maybe that they like.
Do you think Hakeem Jeffries realizes how much trouble he's in?
Maybe they're in trouble. Then again, maybe they're going to take back the House. Maybe they're going to run the government in 2028. I don't know. So I think it really could go either way. It depends on where the Republican Party takes it.
So let's do this. If you were President Trump right now, what would you do?
If I'm President Trump, I'm going to deport everybody. I'm going to restrain Israel. I'm going to force them to end all the hostility. And I know they achieved this deal in Gaza, but that's not over by a long shot. And then I would do something with the affordability crisis. You got to address healthcare, infrastructure, jobs. I don't know what that looks like in terms of like a full spectrum approach. I would articulate a trade doctrine that's stable and predictable so that investment can start flowing, money can increase its velocity. But you really got to start to think more about the economy. I would drop the war in Venezuela and I'd refocus on the war against poverty in America. In other words, I would put the people first. I would listen. And what the people said in this off-year election is we want affordability. You know, there's so many bellwethers here about where the economy is. There's a housing bubble. The Black Friday spending, even though the volume was high, in terms of the number of people participating was much lower. People are buying on credit. They're doing this, you know, pay later stuff. And then you have the jobs report from October, which they're not even releasing. Allegedly, we lost 50,000 jobs. If you don't count the data centers, there's been no job growth at all. And so the signs are there. We're in trouble. Bitcoin is crashing. I would really get back to the drawing board on what we're doing with trade.
No, I
and what
agree.
we're
And the
doing with
polls
the
show
economy.
they don't like Trump saying everything's wonderful, we fixed inflation. No, you didn't. He's doing fixes that take time. Stop saying it's fixed. That's the thing that pisses people off. Now let's shift gears before we go to calls into Somalia. You wanted to get into that. Trump during his cabinet meeting just an hour ago, Trump on Somalia immigrants. Here's what he had to say.
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I can say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them the hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
Wow.
Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage.
Wow.
Her friends are garbage.
Wow.
These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much, everybody.
So, I might just air that on loop tomorrow for 4 hours. That's the Trump we want. Don't be politically correct. Stop bowing down. Do what he just did. Nick, that was powerful. That's the old Trump. That's the old Trump 2.0. What do you make of that?
Yeah, where's this guy been for the past 5 years? I think that's what everybody's thinking. I love it, and he hit every note because it's so true. These people come from a broken country. They come here and they mess up our country. Everybody knows they don't contribute, and for all the
And they
statistics,
run us
people say,
down
well,
how we're this.
well, and that's the best part. They come here from a horrible country. They don't contribute, and then they're not even grateful. There's no gratitude. There's no reverence. There's no appreciation. And he's right. Ilhan Omar, that other one that just ran for mayor, they're not loyal to America. They don't even like America. And he's right. All they do is whine and complain. And I love that he says all they do is bitch. It's true. That's all they do. And we don't want him here. Does anybody think America's made better by a bunch of Somalian immigrants? We don't want him here. It's just not a good idea. Don't need him.
And it's so healthy to start differentiating and bring back common sense. That was so revolutionary. Wow.
It is, but now we need to see something done about it. They need to go into Minneapolis and liberate the city, because otherwise it's all talk. Okay, it's a great statement. You know, that's what everybody wanted to say. It's very cathartic. It's like, you know, I feel good when I hear that. But if in 3 years Minneapolis is still Somalian, I'm going to say WTF. What happened then?
By the way, do
So
you know
you
both
get
the
it.
cops they hired that were Somali non-citizens killed people and lost their jobs within a few months?
Really?
I'm sorry
did
about
not know
Somalis, folks. Let me just be honest. They literally admit it is a culture of slavery and piracy.
Well, and it's them. It's the Haitians. It's like, hey, remember the Haitians in Springfield? We don't want these people. Like, these are probably the two worst countries on earth. Haiti and Somalia. They don't have a functioning government. Somalia does not and has not had a legitimate central government in decades. And neither does Haiti. And yet we're bringing these people into the Midwest. Why? Why are we bringing them to Ohio and Minnesota? Well, they're bringing them in because they have a functional welfare state. They're bringing them in because you have good health care in Ohio and Minnesota. Bringing them in because you have a generous welfare state. And we're waiting for the president, the actual President Trump, that is going to take them and remove them from the country completely. But, I'm not confident that that's going to happen. I'm waiting for the day when they send in ICE by the tens or hundreds of thousands, and they literally just take them all out. And one day you wake up and Minneapolis is no longer under Somalian occupation. I don't think that's going to happen, but it needs to. And so that's where I hear a statement like that, and you go, okay, so clearly you still have it in you. You know what we want to hear. You know what we want you to do. The 2016 Trump never left. You just need to flip a switch. But now you need to deliver. And so if you can deliver all these other things, deliver this. Do what you need to do. But, like, make it happen, because if you remove these people, they're not coming back. If you take these people out of the country, you can violate every federal judge injunction, every Supreme Court ruling, whatever. If you just take these people and physically remove them, they're not coming back. Just do it and pardon yourself. Do it and pardon your people. But we just have to start getting them out.
And by the way, you're putting them into a wonderland. They all say how great Somalia is. You're doing them a favor.
Yeah, they're so proud, right? I mean, they're so proud of their culture and their heritage, and they're so much better than us. So let's just do them a favor. We'll get them a nice military cargo plane ride right back, and then we're going to slam the door shut so they're never tempted to return. I just want to see it happen. And it's frustrating that, you know, when you hear that, you realize it. It's like it's very pleasing to hear, but you also realize, oh, so Trump knows exactly what to say and exactly what to do. He's
God
just not
damn it.
doing it every other day and 90% of the other times when it's not happening. So that's where it's sort of bittersweet.
No, I agree, but
Yes.
I'm starting to see a pivot, though. I think he's starting to swing back because he knows his poll numbers are in the toilet.
Well, I'm not going to say that until he delivers. I think this is what he does, which is he says these things and people go, oh, here we go. We're going to get that old Trump back. And it buys him another 6 months. And it's 6 months of letdown, 6 months of disappointment. I hope you're right. I hope he pivots and turns it around.
Jimmy
They're
Cricket.
having giant raids in Minneapolis right now.
Are they? How many people are being removed? I don't think
It's
they're
thousands.
talking about doing that.
No, it started. It just started. But here's the thing. Biden all gave him amnesty. Trump's revoking it.
Well, he's revoking their protected status so they could be deported, but we actually have to put them on the planes and get them out. But we're just not seeing those numbers. It's 300,000
But in
for the year.
fairness, you
That's
know, the
nothing.
judges have been blocking it. I mean, they have ramped up enforcement.
Yeah, I mean they're training more people, they're hiring more people, but the numbers are still so low. The average is like 1,000 per day. That's nothing. I mean, you need 10,000 a day. Realistically, to get even the 10 million under Biden. That's just to get us neutral. And then people want to say, what about self-deportations? What about them? We need to literally have massive operations and get these people out. And they say, well, you know, they're obstructing. Okay, like throw all those people in jail too. Wouldn't it be paradise if we woke up in 4 years and we were 10 million less immigrants and all these like left-wing agitators, all these horrible leftists were in prison for attacking ICE and throwing planters in front of their trucks? Like, let's just
No, I agree,
use
but
the
that's
power.
the Soros judges that are letting him out.
They should just disobey that. They don't have to listen to that. They should just disobey that. The Supreme Court intervened and said, you can't do these nationwide injunctions on every little thing. You got to go full Andrew Jackson and just disobey it. I mean, we're at a critical stage. We're in a crisis. It's time for the government to lay down the law. Time for the executive to execute.
No, I agree. Constitutional crisis time. All right, let's come back. I want to hit Venezuela briefly, and then we're going to take some calls and some of the comments and questions Nick Floyd has. A real discussion. Notice there's been no infighting in this interview. Different personalities.
I need to put these in all my
That's fun,
videos.
and that gets ratings, but it doesn't move the needle towards liberty. We'll be right back. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. I'm making this announcement on Friday, November 21st, 2025. And this is the biggest sale in the history of our sponsor, Bigly, thealexjonesstore.com, with the very best supplements, widest selection of Patriot apparel. Right now, until next Friday, you can get any of the incredible supplements, ultramethylene blue, the Irish sea moss, the Shilajit, the bovine colostrum, and they're all the best. The turmeric, the list goes on and on. Where you get one bottle of whatever supplement you want, and then you can pick any other supplement you want. So you can buy a supplement that costs way less than one of the other supplements and get that even more expensive, more quote high-end products that has more ingredients free with it. This is a massive deal, and every day we're running flash sales that change crazy
So,
right now. The bad guys are very close
now
to
on
shutting
all
down.
my videos,
InfoWars had the state receiver in. They're setting up an
some
auction
point,
sometime in the
I
next
got
month.
to
I'll imagine it'll be like the federal
show
auction,
this
where they don't let
so
good
everybody
guys try
can
to
see it
bid.
and scan it
Not
whenever
accusing
they'd
anything
like,
wrong
if
yet.
they'd like to
We're
help
just
me
gonna see what
out.
happens. Let's just say this: I don't have any faith that
This one,
good guys will keep us on the air to be allowed to bid. So I expect we'll be shut down by the new year. But that's okay because we've got the Access Network, we've got all these new systems thanks to your support that have been set up and even more being built. But that's why the support is so critical. And thealexisword.com is it doesn't just fund InfoWars as we find us down here, but the new infrastructure. So it is critical to take action. And again, I don't own thealexisword.com. I don't own the Alex Jones Network. Bigley does. And so I'm just going to work there, be the news director, and we're going to continue on. And they can attack me till the cows come home, but we are going to continue to fight. The only variable of myself and my crew staying in the fight is we'll never give up, never back down, never give in. We could give out. Is you supporting us while you get great products at the same time. So now's the time to take action. You see the crescendo of the forces of good versus evil just rising against each other, as it always does historically. We're in this major time of change before the turning. The Democrats are calling for open civil war, saying Trump's a tyrant, telling the military not to follow any of his orders. This is a time we need to stay on the air. Whether it's InfoWars, the Alex Jones Network, you know the coordinates, you share them everywhere. You take the clips, you take the articles, you take the video links, and that will change the world. But to keep us on air, we need the money, so we sell you great products that really work. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Just like a good restaurant wants to have good service, high quality food at reasonable prices, so you want to come back, there's a line out the door. The restaurant with nobody going in it shuts down because they have crappy service. You just got to come into our restaurant. You just got to come in and try the Ultramethylene Blue or the Sea Moss or the other products and see how great it is. That's why we're saying buy one bottle, get any other bottle you want free, and other huge discounts right now at thealexjonesstore.com. This is the most critical moment in InfoWars 28 years. These are great products, so take action now. Action is the essence of victory. That's why we've come so far together. You're the reason the InfoWars existed. It will continue on despite the URL, because I am the InfoWar. You are the InfoWar. We are the InfoWar. We are telling the truth and taking on their lies and winning. And yeah, they're striking back, and boy, we're in the thick of a big war here, but you can see they're losing. To paraphrase Patton, if you're tired and you're hungry, you've been fighting for days, just know this, the other guy you're fighting is even more tired and more hungry, so punch and fight that much harder in the InfoWar. Take action now, thealexjonesstore.com, and God bless you all.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order, it's Alex Jones. Waging war on corruption, it's Alex Jones.
All right, Nick, I want to briefly hit Venezuela. I know you and I have overall agreed on the policy. I don't trust the intelligence agencies to do this, but I get hemispherically this. You said this isn't neoconism, this is realism. But just briefly, and I'm not attacking you. You just make the joke like it's a debate. But it really isn't a debate, so I didn't call it a debate. I remember seeing you like a year ago. You know, Alex talks about Bilderberg Group and the globals, maybe 2 years ago. But he's like, you know, it's really this. But what about the big tech? What about the big banks? What about, you know, to me, there's that whole corporate globalist system that obviously Israel's heavily involved in, China and others. But you're a smart guy. You know your geopolitics, so certainly you understand that the heart of the Western globalist power structures, the big corporations, how do we deal with that wild card? I mean, I see Trump putting pressure on BlackRock, at least on the surface. States like Texas winning lawsuits against him for trying to cut our carbon output. I see Trump getting us out of the Paris Accords. That is so huge, getting us out of carbon taxes. That's incredibly positive. I mean, how do you respond to that power block of the overall globalist corporations?
Well, I mean, when you look at Trump, he's a pro-Wall Street candidate. I mean, he cut the corporate tax rate in 17. He extended the corporate tax cut again this year.
Okay,
And you look at the donors. You get Ken Griffin backing him. You got Tim Mellon, a banker, giving him $200 million. And who was at his inauguration? It was Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos. It was big tech and little tech together. So to me, I look at Trump as basically, at this point, a pro-establishment figure. They're not afraid of him. The New York Times, the Washington Post, they don't give him, and no one talks about this, but they do not resist him half as much as they did 10 years ago. In 2016, when Trump ran the first time, you remember, it was brutal every day. The coverage was 99%
No, I totally
negative.
agree that a lot of the establishment's capitulated, and Trump's danger is looking like establishment when he hasn't yet even won. So let me ask you this then. The deep state, the Democrats, almost the CIA, they're all trying color revolution, or you disagree with that? Because they're definitely...
My cousin's band and stuff, when I moved in, I lived with my cousin for several years at my aunt and uncle's place in Dagsburg, Delaware, and I need to do my nails. Yeah, he had a band. Still, I guess he still has. Can't remember how it's spelled. Yeah, Dagsboro. Yeah. Burr, Delaware, and I need to do my nails. Yeah, he had a band. Still, I guess he still has a band. I mean, they don't hardly ever do anything with each other, but I guess they have a band. I mean, they don't hardly ever do anything with each other, but I guess they have a band. Years and years and years they've had this band now. Yeah. Not to get all into like that and everything, like the name of the band and all that stuff and everything. I'm not trying to, you'll find all that stuff out later. I'm not trying to promote anything, but just my bedroom was the computer room where we both had our computers in and shit, and they would practice. We eventually built a sound studio in the backyard, like out of a shed, but they used to, oh my god, practice right there in the living room all the time, and I'd be right there in that other room, or I'd be out there in that room where they were playing, and I'd sleep in the room sometimes where they were playing and stuff. My bedroom was the computer room where we both had our computers in and shit, and they would practice. We eventually built a sound studio in the backyard, like out of a shed, but they used to, oh my god, practice right there in the living room all the time, and I'd be right there in that other room, or I'd be out there in that room where they were playing, and I'd sleep in the room sometimes where they were playing and stuff.
Don't follow orders. They're definitely trying to set something up. I agree their power's diminished. Who makes up the kind of leftist leftovers?
Well, it's difficult to say because they seem to be very disorganized, and it's hard to say who's on what side at this point. You know, a lot of people came over to the right after October 7th, which is sort of interesting. You know, you had people like Bill Ackman, for example, who was a left-wing guy, now is on the right. He was a left-wing Jewish donor. Now he's on the right because of the whole Israel issue. So the question is, who is really left? I think that they've lost a lot of the institutional Jewish support. USAID got rolled up, so I think a lot of the money that came from the NGOs is drying up. The Trump administration is doing a good job of fighting back against that. So where are their power centers? Well, you could even say that Zuckerberg was a major booster for the Democrats in $300 million from Zuckerberg Chan Foundation. He didn't even put money in 24. He sat it out, and he did the whole rebrand. He was like a tech bro, changed his look. So you've got Reid Hoffman, you've got Bloomberg, you've got Pritzker, you got Hollywood, and I'm sure there's a lot of holdovers, a lot of stay-behinds in the CIA and in the State Department and the federal bureaucracy. There are actually
really
still a
is
ton.
a diminished headless horseman. I agree. It's like a decapitated chicken running around.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to say who will then emerge and take leadership. Obama allegedly has been orchestrating a ton of meetings in D.C. over the past week with Susan Rice and Victoria Nuland, for people to know who that is, and a lot of other like
deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah. So they're trying to get it back together.
So you're right. We should put all our pressure on Trump. When I asked the question, it was rhetorical at the first, but do it right, not fake stuff. Do real serious stuff like you're doing. You're right. Everything is about the populace we have in, putting pressure on them to stay true, because the left is basically on a suicide mission.
Well, yeah, and I just think that they're not the biggest threat right now. They're pretty disorganized. The biggest threat right now is that we're going to lose the initiative on the right. And what I basically want to do is fortify the right wing in the way that Trump did the first time. Because before Trump took the fight to Clinton, he first had to level the whole conservative movement. He had to fight Fox News with Roger Ailes at the head at the time, and he had to fight, that whole constellation of think tanks that were dominant back then, the consultant class, as well as all the politicians, the Bush dynasty, and the donor base.
But it sounds like you're saying, in a way, Trump's more dominant than ever, but it's his to lose. Because paradoxically, you also say MAGA's in trouble, which I agree. He's defeated the system on the right wing. He's got control, but now he can sink the ship because he's the captain if he runs into an iceberg.
Exactly. Yeah, very well said. Yeah, he's slipping. He's losing the initiative, and and it's an unforced error. Like I said, if we cede economic populism to the left, we're going to open up a door for them to come back, and it'll be hard for the right wing to recover if this administration's a complete disaster. Because a lot of people voted Republican for the first time in 24. A lot of people came over because of the pandemic, because of the Ukraine war, all that kind of stuff.
Has found they're now swinging Mondami.
Exactly. So if we blow it this time, we're really going to blow it. The voter registration in Pennsylvania is now going left for the first time in years.
Yeah, Trump needs to act like a rebel and an underdog that he is, not the emperor in a gold gilded cage.
Yeah, he's got to take his prize. I don't get it. Like, we won the election. We won after the persecution. He got shot in the head. Take your prize. Do
By the way, I predicted that he would not involved with Epstein and sex, but do it for Israel and MI6. And now it's come out in the emails they released. He worked for the Rothschilds, MI6, Mossad. That's always been known, but now it's confirmed. Trump literally wasn't involved with sex and Epstein, but he connected himself now. What a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Why shouldn't he just released all the files to begin with? Now we get the worst of both worlds. Because all this stuff is coming out about him anyway, and it doesn't look like it's actionable. Doesn't look like he was on the island or anything like that. But, like you said, now he's associated with it, so.
God, it's just advisors that just... briefly, Venezuela, since you were on a few weeks ago, what's your view on it now?
I think we should take a deal with Maduro, honestly. I think that... and who knows what's going to happen at this point. I think it's inevitable there's going to be military action, and Rubio wants to roll up the whole Caribbean. He wants Venezuela to go, then Cuba, then Nicaragua. And if he could pull that off, I mean, it's good. If he could pull that off, that would be an achievement. I mean, we would look back on that and say, wow, we reoriented the Western Hemisphere.
Vietnam.
Yeah, that's the issue, is it's never...
oh my gosh. We would play games so much, all the time. Just this and that and that and that all the time. But what we played the most was World of Warcraft because you had to pay for it monthly and you felt like you're fucking obligated. You had to pay. I gotta get my fucking money's worth. I gotta fucking do. And you play this shit out of that. That's how I ended up coming up with my tagger, my game tag name, Cold Mandrake, because that's what I went by for so long playing that fucking game. And it's like we were just always kind of into. Cold Mandrake, because that's what I went by for so long playing that fucking game. And it's like we were just always kind of into that stuff, like World of Warcraft. It was like we played the other one, like Guild Wars or something before that, like, and it was like, okay, this is kind of cool. This is like kind of like what we always kind of like wanted to think and do and imagine.
Listen, it always sounds tantalizing, like, oh, we're going to take over Iraq, and then the whole Middle East will be a democracy. But it never really goes that way, does it? So, you know, Venezuela's not Panama, and we've been trying to take out Maduro for a decade. We've been trying to take out Cuba for half of a century. I don't know that that's all going to come to fruition. So, at this point, it's unavoidable. I think we're on a collision course.
Speak to DC, what you up to there, Turkey Do?
I think it'll be within the next couple months, maybe sooner than that. I think that Trump is going to try to give diplomacy a chance. He called Maduro, and Maduro has a choice to make here. Doesn't have a lot of cards to play. So it really comes down to whether Maduro's going to go quietly. But if he doesn't, then I think the bombs are going to start going anytime now, within the next couple months.
Absolutely. I want to jam in a few calls here. We'll find you Nick J. Fuentes on Rumble.
Barely walk.
But man, I'm a little jealous. I never had the Democrats try to pass a law against me. But you know, a sanction by Congress, by the Senate, that's most 20. I never heard any 26-year-old having that happen, Nick. Is that? I know you're not on a power trip, it's how you're able to control it. But you ever like wake up and go, wow, is this real? Like, yeah.
It's just kind of ridiculous. I'm like I do a talk show, I do a live stream, and it's like we're passing a resolution in the Senate condemning this live streamer. I'm like, don't you have other stuff to do?
Well,
like,
don't they know? I mean, I actually wish you would please give. I mean, God, Hillary came out and called me the dark heart. We got like 10 million viewers extra the next day. Like, well, don't they understand the Streisand effect?
Yeah, and even a lot of the pro-Israel people said, what are you doing? You're just giving him more attention. You got to stop this. And it's like, yeah, it's great for ratings, but I'm like, it just seems kind of ridiculous.
Well,
like
there's multiple videos of him serving raw hamburgers.
Oh, who, Schumer?
Yeah, he goes, here. He goes, I've never had a backyard, but my daughter's wife has a backyard. Here's your hamburger. And it's a raw red patty with unmelted cheese he's putting on a bun. So, I mean, maybe he is like a Martian, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't know how to, I mean, have you haven't seen this?
No, I've never seen that one.
Serving raw hamburgers.
Ugh. Oh, man, yeah.
And there's
Well, that's
videos
what
of
happens
him
when
serving them.
they're trying to role play as Americans. That's what happens.
Well, I mean, how do you not know how to cook a damn hamburger?
They never done it before. Plus, that's not kosher. Cheese on a burger, that's not kosher. Maybe that's why he's got it messed up there.
Oh my God, I can't believe this anymore. Oh my God, we're in so much trouble. I mean, it just makes my head spin. Charles in Oregon, you're there with Nick Fuentes. Go ahead, Charles.
Good morning, awesome Nick Fuentes. Great show on the Sam Hyde Show. Shout out to the producers at InfoWars. Yeah, I've been on the hold for about 2.5 hours.
Dude, I forgot what I was gonna do. This fucking thing's taking so fucking long. The fuck, dude?
Colostrum and the methylene blue. Make sure you do a quick AI search and you it's not stuff to be messed with. Check with your health physician and check YouTube before mixing it with anything else.
Yeah, folks, we're not selling BS. That's a good point. Your question or comment? Go ahead.
So I'm just really frustrated with all the infighting. I think Jones is spot on. We need to pull together and at least meet halfway. We need to all meet halfway. I love Candace. I love Laura Loomer. Nick Fuentes. I just got turned on to him. He's awesome. I loved him on that Sam Hyde show. Mark Dice, MTG, all these big names. I wish we could just meet halfway because I know the establishment loves the fact that this infighting is going on. I understand the issues with the Israel.
Yeah, but
and
see,
all
we're
that,
not doing infighting. You're bringing it up, but it gets ratings, so people do it. You know, I've had Laura Loomer trying to drag me into her stuff lately, and I'm just like, you got MTG, you know, who's a really nice lady, Trump attacking her. That was so stupid. But yeah, thanks for the call. Yeah, what about the infighting, Nick?
Yeah, I think that wherever possible, we should try to unite, and at the minimum, we should all talk and engage with each other. But the problem is, there are people on the right that want to cancel, and that's the difference. It's like you and I have had our disagreements, and we agree on a lot, and we talk about it, and we're civil, and we're polite, and we're pointed in the same direction, and we're always better off after the conversation. And that's true with a lot of people. But then you got these other people on the right, like Levin, and they're like, no, you can't talk to this guy. They tried to cancel Tucker. They canceled Kevin Roberts for defending Tucker for having me on the show. It's like the degrees of separation are crazy. So
now he wants, Levin, like I said in an article, he wants college kids basically thrown out of their college group or banned because they dared watch the Tucker interview with me. Like,
yeah, college kids went to a dinner with the guy that talked to Nick in a show and didn't push back. Like, well, what are we doing with that? So I think that the Big Ten needs to be big.
Do you grow reishi mushrooms? First, logs are cut into shorter pieces, split, and placed into special bags. They are then steamed.
And broadcast is. That was all that one. So now we go on to this one. Alright. A little more off the cuff silliness and some stuff that happened and some going through the notes. You know, we're just gonna keep on keeping on. Making some content. I had a great, beautiful moment earlier today. It was really, really cool. I followed. Oh, I gotta clean. I still gotta clean up there. All right, I gotta. I got called-ish into work. I accepted to come in. Like I saw it sitting on the toilet at 5:55. I had to be there at 7 if I chose to accept, and I was like, all right, fuck it. I can make him dinner and run out there and be there on time. And I did, and I got there, and turned out they don't need me, and it was fine. And I gotta find something else to do. I'll hang out a little while. And I got to talk to Arthur. I hadn't seen Arthur in a little while. Wonderful guy. Then sitting back at the bar, checking in, seeing if everything was cool, and talking to another, couple other people I know out there and whatnot, just bullshitting. Angel was there, fellow guest who's been on more by only guest on our show so far.
agree with. They always try to cancel me, and I know it's the same with you. You talk to everybody and anybody, so do I. It's the other side that says, no, don't watch InfoWars, don't watch Fuentes. That you can't talk to these guys. They're the real problem. So I in some sense, I'm in agreement. I don't like the infighting, but
Let's
we
talk
got to
to Joe.
differentiate.
They're trying to ban ADF. They've killed 30 of their people in the last few months. Alternative Deutschland party, or is it ADF? Or but talking about Germany, so that would be the Alternative Deutschland party. Go ahead, Joe, in Florida.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Alex. This is at Joe Bender from Florida on X. The AFD, I've been concerned about this for a while and been meaning to talk to you about it. The Alternative for Deutschland has been the party.
Yeah, they just put it on the screen. I figured that's what it was. AFD, go ahead.
Right on. Well, I heard about it first on Fox Radio one day when I was driving, and they said Elon Musk is supporting this far-right party. So I thought, well, what does that mean? You know, it's called MAGA far-right. Not so much Fox saying that, but then they call Nazis on the other hand far-right when they're actually socialists. So I wanted to see what it was. So I went on their website directly to the source, and they had this thing called the Manifesto for Germany. And on page 5 of their Manifesto for Germany, they say they like social market economics and direct democracy.
Yeah, I mean, AFD is pretty libertarian, so what's your question or comment?
My point is that I want to make is that I think that they're getting grouped in with conservatives when they say they like social market economics, which is it's basically a planned economy, and that's not conservative at all. And then they say they want direct democracy. I don't know what the answer is for Germany or what the solution is, but and I don't want anything bad to happen to their members. Like you're mentioning that violence that they've been targeted by the violence, but I just think people need to be careful about who they.
All right, I hear you. What about Europe in general? What do you think of AFD, Nick Fuentes?
Well, AFD has been drifting a little bit to the left, and you're right. There's a very strong libertarian faction, which is why I'm a little confused about the question. But they've been drifting very libertarian and very, in some ways pro-Israel. But overall, I think the priority in Germany is get the migrants out. Get the migrants out, get rid of the hate speech laws. It's basically like the German state has no identity. They're raison d'etre. The reason for their country, they say, is to affirm the Holocaust in Israel. It's insane.
So what's your prediction for Europe? Is it salvageable?
I don't know. Europe is really spiritually very dead. The whole continent has apostatized. They're not Christian, and there's no energy. They're not having kids. They don't take pride. I will say there's a lot of positive signs, though. Italy has a right-wing party. AFD is surging. They're now the highest polling party in Germany. In France, you got the National Rally coming back. Macron has a 13% approval rating. So politically, I'm a little bit optimistic, but they got a lot of problems, man. And they're throwing people in jail for being right-wing. So it could go either way. It's very difficult to say right now, but things seem to be going pretty well over there. Seems to be a big right-wing populist revival, maybe more potent than it has been in the past 10 years.
We only got a few minutes left. What are you doing your show tonight?
It's been a little bit of a slow week, I gotta be honest. I don't know if you feel that way, but not too much happening. I'll probably cover Venezuela tonight, and I might cover the statement on Somalia by Trump. Do a little of the stuff we did here on the show today. I'll recap it. But it's been a little slow past few weeks, can't lie.
You gotta say slow news there, my goodness. There's so much to cover, but I overall hear what you're saying. Looking at the midterms coming up, who knows what's going to happen? Historically, the party out of power wins. 2028, that's just right around the corner. We're some 2 years away from that starting up or less. Who else do you see other than Vance, who obviously is the main guy they're going to push, with Rubio as his VP? Who would you support as a Republican?
Right now, I can't see anybody that I like. When people talk about Thomas Massey, I don't think he's running, and I don't know that I even would. I think he's too pro-immigration, to be honest. I know he's good about some issues. And people talked about Marjorie. I really did like her statement that she put out the other day, attacking Republican men and telling them, make your own dinner. I really didn't like that. So there's not a whole lot. I mean, our options looks like Vance, Rubio, DeSantis, Kristi Noem, maybe some governor somewhere. I'm really looking forward for a dark horse. I'm looking for somebody that maybe we're not aware of, maybe someone that's not on our radar. I'm looking for like a young guy who's going to be far right, who's going to kind of tap into the Trump style and the Trump messaging from 16. But of course, with the topical stuff from this decade, I'm looking for somebody like that to come around, maybe that we haven't heard of. In the same way that when Trump came around at 15, nobody anticipated that he would dominate the race like he did. I'm looking for a figure like that, and I don't know if one will arrive.
Well, you can't run for president for 9 years, but are you going to run for president?
I don't know. Everyone's always asking me that. I don't think I'm cut out for politics. I'm not disciplined enough.
We have the Jones-Fuentes team.
I would run. Hey, you run as president. I'll be your vice president. How's that?
Oh my gosh, that's going to be quite the headline. So in closing, at least at gut level, your prognosis for the West and the world. Do we have a nuclear war in the next few years? Do we have a global depression? I mean, just big picture, how are you feeling about humanity right now? Because look, the fact that, nobody knew about the globals 30 years ago, now a lot of people do. Nobody knew about America First, now they do. I mean, I've seen us gaining so much traction. We're not there yet, but we're moving so quickly. I'm positive overall.
I'm positive too. That being said, I'm positive long term, but short term, I think we're headed for a cataclysm that's unavoidable. I think between the AI-induced job losses, the debt bomb that we're sitting on, the emerging World War III, Taiwan in 27 maybe, the political disorder, I think in the short term we're headed for a lot of problems, but I think that kind of situation tends to create a rebirth. And so if I were to kind of map it out, I would say long term we win, but I think we're going to undergo a lot of tumult and trial and difficulty in the very short term, because just no getting around it. There's a true revolution going on in the world in every domain, and that always brings with it instability and disruption.
I mean, it's the fourth turn. It's great waiting. So in closing, what do you think it's like for the left and the ADL and all the control groups that had us under a spell, not even I, but other people, total spell of political correctness? When they said jump, we say how high, and now the more they intimidate, they see it all dissipating. What must it be like in their minds to see their intimidation, their bullying, their mind control end? And how do they respond to that?
Well, they're so defeated. I love watching these podcasts that they do, because they all still do. They all got a Substack. They all got all these like journalists on the far right beat that would cover us. They all have a Substack, and they are just defeated. They do a small podcast for 1,000 viewers, and they infinitely complain about the stuff we're saying, the things, the dynamics of the right wing. And so it's very delicious, because as you know, for years, these people were on us, and the bullying, they relished in the power they held to censor, to ruin lives, and they were like tattletales. They were like that character in Recess. They had like their little notepad they were going to run at the principal. Nick Fuentes said he's a white nationalist. Oh, I guess you lost your Twitter. And now they got nothing. So
I read this note. It's annoying when you're mid-sentence explaining something to someone, and then they start to try to talk over you, and then say, "Hey, are you gonna let me finish?" And you're like, "What is happening right now, bitch? You cut me off. You asked me a question. I was fucking answering it. And it happens to me all the time. I'm literally one fucking sentence away from finishing my fucking point, and I'm done. Or I might think of another thing to come up with, to ask you or this or that or whatever. But I'm like 1 to 3 sentences away from finishing my fucking point so many fucking times, and people just like cut me off or walk away. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Can you just let me finish my fucking sentence? Or it's.
very pleased with it, but at the same time, we can't make the mistake that they did. We can't have hubris. We can't get too carried away. We got to stay dialed
I agree,
in.
and we don't want to censor them because no one's listening to them. Try to just stop attacking late night comics with no viewers. We're not calling for censorship. We've won the intellectual debate, so we don't need to censor them. Plus, we don't want to. Let's be clear.
I do think we should punish them, though. I think they should be punished economically. They should be made non-viable, because if they got power back, they would use it against us with a vengeance. And so that's why, like when Charlie Kirk died, everybody said, no, we have to support free speech. I disagree. I support free speech in the law, but just like they did to us, I loved it when people were calling employers and getting people fired, people making death threats, should have been getting arrested. When we have the power, we have to use it against their shock troops and make their businesses economically non-viable. These like newspapers are being shut down. I love it. I love seeing Vice go out of business. I love seeing BuzzFeed News go out of business. We need to replicate that, and people should not be shy about that. It's not like we're going to give them a right to play in the game. If they win the game, they're going to kill us and our kids. They're going to trans our kids, and they're going to murder our ancestors.
They've given us no quarter, so they don't get quarter. Nick J. Fuentes on X and Rumble. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
Another great interview. All right, we're out of time. Brianna Morello is going to host the War Room because Harrison Smith hosted for her today when she was at the Pentagon news briefing. And she'll be hosting from D.C. for the Rumble Studios coming up. But hey, I'm backed by you. I'm not backed by the left or Soros or the New World Order or the whoever's. I'm backed by you at thealexjonesstore.com, and we have the 12 days of Christmas sale. We have a bunch of sales in the next 12 days, but the next 5, it is buy any supplement and get any other supplement free. That means you can buy a
Why
$20
does he
supplement
popping
and a
the fuck
$45
back
supplement
up,
free.
dude? What the fuck?
Unprecedented deal.
Go away.
It's running
Go away.
for just
Go away.
4
Go
days.
away.
Until Friday evening, so I guess 3.5. So take advantage of that right now. Get the ultramethylene blue, get the Shilajit, get the Irish sea moss, get the bovine colostrum. It's all there. TheAlexJonesStore.com. I want to thank you all for your incredible support. But whatever you do, share the articles, share the videos on Rumble, on InfoWars, on X. You are the Paul Reveres. Thank you so much. Great First Amendment 2 hours we just had. Great 4-hour transmission. Brian Morello, host of the War Room, comes up now. You'll find those feeds at InfoWars.com/show. And on the Real Alex Jones feed, look for the InfoWars feed. This is about to re-loop the 4 hours. The show belongs to you. All the clips belong to you, so share them. Everything we do is the tip of the spear. You are the tip of the spear when you spread the word, when you pray for us, when you buy products. So listen, we have shortfalls, and they're not even that big. But I understand the economy's totally shot. Our audience is as big as it's ever been. And back when the economy was going and we had an audience this big, we'd be in high cotton and I'd be able to expand. Right now, I'm trying to stay on air. So I need you to make the decision to go to thealexjonesstore.com right now and take advantage of the biggest sale ever. Black Friday came early. That's right, Black Friday has come early. We always launch it the weekend before Black Friday. Be a little different. Black Friday comes early, mega sale, the biggest sale ever. Buy one, get one free on all supplements. The Irish sea moss, the ultramethylene blue, the Shilajit, the bovine colostrum, and dozens of other amazing products. This is the biggest sale we've ever done. It's Friday, November 28th. Buy any supplement and get any other supplement for free. Normally it's buy one bottle Irish sea moss, get another bottle of Irish sea moss, or buy one bottle of methylene blue, get another bottle. No, this is add any supplement to your cart and get another supplement free. You can mix and match any of our amazing supplements together. Don't miss out. This offer ends Friday, November 28th.
You know, when they're with their girl, they're with their girls, or felt like something was between my teeth. When they're with their girls and, you know, they're out hanging out, and, you know, and like, you know, they can't like sit down. That's why they had gentlemen's clubs and stuff like that, you know. So dude can just sit down and fucking talk and not have the hens there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, I know this is a hard pill for a lot of fucking people to swallow, but dude, there are times when girls need their girls' time out and guys need their guys' time out. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I don't agree with all the dumb shit that guys do when they go out at all. Like when it comes to like, you know, being dirty with girls and stuff like that, and just it's like that's nonsense. But you need those gentleman club scenarios. You need like dudes night out, like let's get away from the bitches, not try to engage and cheat with on other people and do this or that or whatever. But like let's just go to a place where we can do shit that we enjoy doing together and just talk and have drinks and talk about like real fucking shit that are significant others just don't want to talk about or can't comprehend on the level that we comprehend it on. You know what I mean, or whatever. But, when they're with their girl, they're with their girls, or felt like something was between my teeth. When they're with their girls and, they're out hanging out, and like, they can't like sit down. It's like, that's why they had gentlemen's clubs and stuff like that, so dude can just sit down and fucking talk and not have the hens there. You know what I mean? The dude can just sit down and fucking talk and not have the hens there. You know what I mean? It's like, I know this is a hard pill for a lot of fucking people to swallow, but dude, there are times when girls need their girls' time out and guys need their guys' time out. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I don't agree with all the dumb shit that guys do when they go out at all. Like when it comes to like, being dirty with girls and stuff like that, and just it's like that's nonsense. But you need those gentleman club scenarios. You need like dudes night out, like let's get away from the bitches, not try to engage and cheat with on other people. Night out, like let's get away from the bitches, not try to engage and cheat with on other people and do this or that or whatever. But like let's just go to a place where we can do shit that we enjoy doing together and just talk and have drinks and talk about like real that or whatever. But like let's just go to a place, dudes night out, like let's get away from the bitches, not try to engage and cheat with on other people and do this or that or whatever. But like let's just go to a place where we can do shit that we enjoy doing together and just talk and have drinks and talk about like real fucking shit that are significant others just don't want to talk about or can't comprehend on the level that we comprehend it on. You know what I mean, or whatever. But when they're with their girl, they're with their girls, or you need those gentleman club scenarios. You need like dudes night out, like let's get away from the bitches, not try to engage and cheat with on other people and do this or that or whatever. But like let's just go to a place where we can do shit that we enjoy doing together and just talk and have drinks and talk about like real fucking shit that are significant others just don't want to talk about or can't comprehend on the level that we comprehend it on. You know what I mean, or whatever. Significant others just don't want to talk about or can't comprehend on the level that we comprehend it on. You know what I mean, or whatever.
What I'm about to show you cannot be explained by mainstream historians, and that's exactly why it matters. In India, 4 different Hindu gods clearly dominate the 4 different regions. Have you ever noticed how South India worships Kartikeya more than other Hindu gods? And have you ever noticed why Ganesha, the elephant god, is worshipped devoutly in West India? And why does East India worship Durga, the mother goddess, a lot, while North India worships Shiva? It looks as if these 4 different Hindu gods dominate the 4 different regions of India. Experts cannot explain why this is the case, but believe it or not, this is mentioned in ancient Indian legends. Thousands of years ago, when Shiva's family ruled India, they were always together, but demons always tried to destroy the land with separatism. When Shiva's family stayed in the north, the demons would try to destroy the south, and when the family moved to the south to fight the demons would spread to the east and weaken ancient India. So, to protect the country, Shiva's family decided to separate. Accordingly, the youngest son Kartikeya was moved to the south, the older son Ganesha to the west. Shiva stayed in Mount Kailash to protect the north, and his wife moved east. This story is told from generation to generation for thousands of years, and it could be dismissed as mere mythology, except for what is going on today. Even today, South India is fiercely dominated by Lord Kartikeya or Murugan, so much so he is even considered a Tamil god. The west is dominated by Lord Ganesha. This is why Ganesh Chaturthi is so popular in Maharashtra. And I don't have to argue that Shiva dominates the north, and everyone knows how Durga dominates West Bengal. So if it is a mere myth, how are 1 billion Hindus still following the same path? How are these 4 gods, all belonging to the Shiva family, able to dominate the 4 directions for thousands of years? What I'm about to show you.
Satan likes to do silly shit. That makes it look cool.
Just pass it here. What do you know? I want some money. You sat there with your pet top clumsy. You won't give me no money. You're not having no more money. But why? I haven't even done anything wrong. The door is me. I've got delivery. Go on, I've got delivery. I'm not here now. Pass it here. No. Let me live. No.
can be. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is huge. Look how big this thing is. Maybe we'll get lucky and see the queen. All right, I'm gonna move this over to there so that the customer can actually watch and see what's going on.
Get out.
It's a little heavy.
You're kidding.
Could you see? Can you see it?
Yeah. Is that full?
Almost.
That's the net. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
That's beautiful.
Careful, I just saw one come in your house.
This might be a hot take, but Asian women need to stop dating white guys. And I'm telling you this as someone who was literally created by a white man and an Asian woman. Okay, I am not judging whatsoever. I am just telling you from firsthand experience, it causes problems. Because growing up mixed, it was fun until it wasn't. Because when you're a kid, you're like, oh my God, I hit the genetic lottery. Because people would always come up and ask me, like, what are you? Making me feel special, like I was a rare Pokemon card. Okay, and then I also got the best of both worlds of each culture. So my dad would take me tailgating, blasting country music, while my mom would bring me to Japanese school every Saturday, learning hiragana, eating bento boxes. It was East meets West, rice cooker meets barbecue. But this was the big issue. Okay, being the byproduct of the Oxford study, like beautiful Asian woman meets mid-white guy, that dynamic bleeds into every aspect of your life, especially relationships. But honestly, nothing in life could have prepared me for this. Okay, when I was 12 years old, my dad and I just finished dinner with our extended family. And it wasn't at like a McDonald's or an Olive Garden. It was like a fancy restaurant for a 12-year-old. You know, like Cheesecake Factory level fancy, where they had dim lighting, warm bread, and it just made you feel grown as soon as you walked in there. And I remembered I like curled my hair, wore my fancy jacket I got from Target, while my dad pulled out his good polo, like the one that he only brought out when he needed to look presentable. And as we're leaving the restaurant, my dad is holding my hand walking around the street as any dad would. But this is where things get weird, okay? My dad is not a very tall man. Like, he might be 5'8" on a good day, that's being generous. And when I was 12, I was quite tall for my age because I hit my growth spurt early. So I guess, from behind, maybe from a distance, we might have looked like two adults holding hands. Because we're waiting at the crosswalk, hand in hand, minding our business, when this random white woman turns to us and goes, "Wow, you guys make a beautiful couple."
So, I'm still trying to figure out where the issues are. I don't really see any kind of problem where a white man shouldn't talk to an Asian woman.
This might be a hot take, but Asian woman?
Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon?
The thing that's wildest about it is the context of this coming after 2 years in the destruction of Gaza. For most people, Pierce, they're thinking of the tens of thousands of babies that he's murdered.
You know, on a rare occasion, I think I have to agree with some of your remarks.
The moment they're inside, they get shot dead. This seems like a prima facie war crime.
The level of interest, scrutiny, and alleged care about what happens, it is mind-boggling.
Hundreds of Palestinians have been killed in this way, and every single time they lie through their teeth about it.
An important detail in the horrific Gaza war is that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing trial for corruption and bribery. Many Israelis believe that he prolonged and even escalated the war, often ceding ground to the extremists who hold together his government in order to delay a trial that may end his reign for good. And it's in that context that many Americans expressed disappointment when President Trump said this a few weeks ago.
Hey, I have an idea. Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a
Right on cue, Netanyahu has now formally requested a pardon from the Israeli President Isaac Herzog. Automatic absolution for his crimes would, he says, bring the country together in the national interest. The truth is that Israel's deeply divided over the scale of a war that's now reckoned to have killed 70,000 Palestinians. That is, America, and increasingly the MAGA base, remains divided over US support for Israel. Joining me to discuss this and more, Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, and Jonathan Conn-Ricketts, the retired Lieutenant Colonel and IDF spokesman. Welcome back to both of you to Uncensored. Dave Smith, it almost read like a parody when I saw that Benjamin Netanyahu, the current Prime Minister of Israel, had written to his own president requesting that he be pardoned for crimes pertaining to his alleged abuse of power, given that the very action of asking him to be pardoned was, you could say, an abuse of power.
Yeah, I thought I retweeted your tweet on this, which essentially just said that, and I don't know that there's much more you could add to it. I mean, it's just so indefensible and right in front of you. I guess, like, the thing that's wildest about it is the context of this coming after 2 years in the destruction of Gaza and support for Israel absolutely collapsing around the world. That in the wake of all of that, like, for most people, Pierce, when
I follow. Oh, I gotta clean. I still gotta clean up there. All right, I gotta. I got called-ish into work. I accepted to come in. Like I saw it sitting on the toilet at 5:55. I had to be there at 7 if I chose to accept. And I was like, all right, fuck it. I can make him dinner and run out there and be there on time. And I did, and I got there, and it turned out they don't need me, and it was fine. And I'll find something else to do. I'll hang out a little while. And I got to talk to Arthur and seen Arthur in a little while.
At the very least, has this real problem with incentives, where the war continuing is in his political interest, and think about how disgusting that is. But now he's going to say, oh, what it'll bring unity to Israel to absolve me of my crimes. Well, that's awfully convenient now, isn't it, Pierce?
Jonathan Conricus, surely you can't defend this, can you?
Well, as you know, Piers, not a spokesperson for my Prime Minister, never was. I spoke on behalf of my military. And, you know, on a rare occasion, I think I have to agree with some of your remarks. And, you know, I think head of opposition in Israel, he made the point that this isn't really a pardon request because there's no admittance of guilt and there's no repentance. So I think it's mostly a political issue. I try to stick in my lane, you know, to speak about things that I actually know a little bit about, military affairs, our enemies, etc. And I wouldn't wander too much into it. And of course, you have your opinions on it, and that's fine.
Well, to be honest, look, they're opinions that would pertain to any world leader. Just to be clear, I mean, to remind people of what these charges are, and, you know, he would have been on trial by now if it wasn't for the war. And as I said at the start, many people believe...
Oh, he actually is on trial, Piers. He is on trial a few times a week. He's in the...
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry. Just to clarify, I meant
counter-evidence.
I meant it would have all been sorted by now if it hadn't been for the war. Likely, right? I mean, we can't say for sure, but it's likely it would have been dealt with. It was paused for a significant length of time.
I think we can agree that it would have been faster, but yeah. I mean, the proceedings are ongoing. They're interrupted every day. I understand from various notes in the courtroom, and that the Prime Minister has to leave because of events, and he's tending to state affairs, and he gets notes from his assistants, and many of the proceedings have been cancelled. So definitely the court and the court proceedings have been delayed by the fact that the defendant is actually running a country at war.
Right, but of course right there is the incentive for him to carry on warmongering. I mean, he could argue if you were being cynical. I'm not saying that's my view. I'm saying if you were being cynical, you would say there's the incentive right there. Now, just to remind viewers of what the charges are, the first involves fraud and breach of trust. The allegation is that he...
Lean on somebody and say he's...
Trust a set of charges pertaining to a newspaper owner offering favourable coverage to Netanyahu and his family, alongside less favourable coverage for his political opponents in Israel's largest newspaper. In exchange, Netanyahu allegedly used his influence to promote legislation that would impose restrictions on rival publications and bring significant financial benefits to the paper owner in question. And then in relation to the other charges of bribery, fraud and breach of trust, Netanyahu is accused of using his powers and authorities as a public servant to promote a telecoms company, Bezek.
And I ended up talking to this guy, man. That's what I must have went out there for, and it was just to talk to this guy because I love having those conversations with people when they're that open and receptive, and they're like really like asking like, well, what did it, you know what I mean? Well, what did this and what did that? And like, how did you, you know, come to these conclusions and decide, you know what I mean? And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, I love it. It's involuntary. Like, every fucking human does it.
To be committing these kind of offences, not that he wasn't the actual leader of the country at the time most of this went on, but he was certainly one of the power people in the country. This is an abuse of power that he's accused of. And it seems to many, including me, Jonathan, if I'm brutally honest, I said at the top, that it's a further abuse of power to try and get yourself off the rap while you are the serving Prime Minister. And that's the problem. And I would say that whoever it was,
And I would agree, and I would say that if someone wants a pardon, then there's an established norm for pardon, and that is to accept responsibility, admit guilt, and ask for forgiveness. By doing so, begging for pardon. That's the way someone who is not a legal scholar and an expert, understands it, and that's what I read is the acceptable norm. That isn't what we're seeing. What we're seeing is part of it's a political move at a very select point of time towards the president in order to apply pressure there and eventually to get rid of something that definitely appears to be a quite burdensome nuisance for the prime minister. That's what I read into it. And yeah, as a citizen, you may call me naive, but I actually have trust in my legal system. I've seen previous sitting Israeli prime ministers be charged with corruption and sent to jail and serve time in jail. Not 2 weeks like in France, but actually serve more than a year and a half. A guy that you had on here, Olmert, was convicted of corruption and he was summarily sent to jail and he served jail time. We have a former president, which is a far less executive power, but nevertheless a head of state. He was charged and convicted of sexual misconduct and things of that nature.
But you've never had what you've never had is you've never had a serving prime minister, right, using the fact that he's on trial for criminal charges, using the fact that he's the prime minister to get himself off the hook. And Dave Smith, to bring you back in there, I mean, he was
never a serving one and a very powerful one at that. I agree.
Well, look, I'm glad that you conceded on that ground. Dave, he was the Minister of Communications when this happened, so he was a member of the government. But like I said, we discussed the abuse of power, the irony of another abuse of power to do it. How relevant or otherwise is the pressure that Donald Trump brought to bear on this, urging Isaac Herzog, the president, to fully pardon Netanyahu before this? Because you can't imagine that Netanyahu would have done this if Donald Trump hadn't preemptively said what he said.
Maybe he would have, but certainly it's a pretty big deal when the President of the United States of America, the commander-in-chief of the world empire, and of course, the country that props up Israel, inserts himself in their domestic politics like that. I mean, that is no small deal, so it's certainly noteworthy. I think it's also noteworthy that in that same trip that you're talking about, Piers, is when Donald Trump joked around about how Miriam Adelson, his biggest donor, prefers Israel to the United States of America, only to then a week or so later, after he made the demand that Israel simply not annex the West Bank, the Knesset voted to annex the West Bank while J.D. Vance was in Israel. So I don't know. I mean, I actually love, Piers, that at this point when we do these panels, the first question that you ask the pro-Israel guest is just, you can't defend this, right?
Well, to be fair to Jonathan, though, but I would say the reason I like having Jonathan, but the reason I like Jonathan coming on Uncensored, I do think he's been far more intellectually honest about some of these issues than many other people on the Israeli side. He's not afraid to say when he thinks things are wrong. You may not agree with a lot of the things he defends, but he's not afraid to be critical. Many of the others are blind, on both sides, by the way, can be blindly non-critical of whatever their side does.
Well, let me, in that spirit, Piers, I will say, and I appreciate Jonathan acknowledging what he did up front there, but I would say just maybe something we all could agree on. The idea that Netanyahu is it's obviously very self-serving, but the idea that Netanyahu is saying, well, you have to pardon me because that's what's best for national unity. That's how we move on from these divisive times. I could say, as an American, I remember Barack Obama, as I'm sure you remember, Piers, making this exact pitch about not prosecuting Bush administration officials for war crimes. There was a lot of pressure on Barack Obama from his left-wing activist base when he first got elected and took office in 2009 to prosecute some of the war crimes that had clearly happened, had clearly been committed by the Bush administration, torture and lying us into war, all types of stuff. He said, no, we're not going to do that because we have to move on, because that's what's best for national unity. And how has that worked out for us, Piers? We entered into the most divisive times, certainly in my lifetime, I think undeniably in modern American history. And I would just say that if you ever want to see national unity, or if you ever want to see times of political divisiveness come to an end, the only answer is to hold criminals in government accountable. That's what actually
I would ban the pardon system.
You're supposed to give them refuge, and you're supposed to take care of them, and then you are supposed to put them into a court of law.
We haven't played a clip from these ladies in a while. Yes, we're going to The View, and Sunny Hostin, the most racist, hateful person on all of your television set. Here she is implying that Pete Hegseth is committing war crimes by blowing up boats that are bringing fentanyl into America.
I can't speak to the law of it. I don't know, I'm not a geopolitical expert, but in terms of the law of it, you're right, Sarah. That is why those Army vets explained, do not follow, you do not have to follow illegal orders. You know why? Because if this is deemed to have been war crimes, which by all accounts right now, there are 7 sources that said Pete Hegseth did say kill them all, even after there were 2 survivors, which you're supposed to do under international law. You are supposed to take those fighters as war criminals, prisoners of war, and you're supposed to give them refuge, and you're supposed to take care of them, and then you are supposed to put them into a court of law.
This is so absurd. This notion, for some reason, this one drives me more crazy than almost anything right now. This thing that we keep hearing, we're hearing it a ton from moron Zamboni in New York City, and now we're hearing it from international law. International law is not a thing. It is like a unicorn, right? Like, it's just not a thing. We are bound by the laws of the United States. If you are watching this in the United States and you are a legal citizen of the United States, there is no international law that governs your life. The laws of the United States of America govern your life. Donald Trump has every right to defend the United States as he sees fit. Now, it's interesting. She's also admitting, she's calling them international fighters. So she's admitting that these people are doing some pretty terrible things. And again, we can have some debate as to what our SOP, what our standard operating procedure should be in the military.
If you own a gun in America, the ground just shifted beneath your feet.
Gun laws unconstitutional.
On their own property or out in public, possessing a firearm.
For openly displaying a firearm have been dropped in the county.
A federal appeals court dropped a bombshell ruling this November, and it's not just another legal update. It's a complete shakeup of how gun laws work across the country. This decision brings 10 major changes. Some expand your rights in ways we've never seen before. Others create hidden legal traps that could catch even the most responsible gun owners off guard. Whether you carry daily, keep a firearm at home, or simply believe in the right to self-defense, these changes affect you directly, and knowing them could be the difference between staying protected or ending up in court. Here are the 10 changes every gun owner needs to understand, starting now. Law 1. Strict scrutiny is now the standard. This first change is the backbone of everything else that's about to unfold, and it completely flips how gun laws are judged in America. For years, the government had it easy. Courts allowed restrictions to pass with little more than a vague justification, no real proof that they were necessary. But that's no longer the case. The November ruling makes it clear. Every single gun law in the country must now survive strict scrutiny, the toughest legal standard that exists. What does that mean in real terms? It means the government can't just claim a law is a good idea. They have to prove they have a truly compelling reason for limiting your rights. And not only that, they must show the law is narrowly focused and that no less restrictive option exists. The burden doesn't fall on you anymore. It falls completely on them. This one shift puts thousands of gun laws across the country at risk of being overturned. Laws that once flew under the radar or passed with emotional arguments are suddenly on the chopping block. It's a total reset, and it opens the door for real accountability. Law 2. Civil lawsuit shield for self-defense. Now here's a change that hits even closer to home and could save you from financial disaster if the unthinkable ever happens. Let's say you're forced to use your gun to protect yourself or your family. You survive the moment, only to find yourself being sued by the very person who attacked you or their family. That's not just hypothetical. A man in Ohio shot a burglar breaking into his house at 2 a.m. No criminal charges were ever filed, but the burglar's family sued and won $400,000. In another case, a woman in California defended herself from an attacker in a parking lot, only to get hit with a $1.2 million lawsuit for using excessive force. The new ruling shuts that door completely. From now on, if you use a firearm in lawful self-defense, you are shielded from civil lawsuits. Period. The attacker, or anyone else, can't just drag you into court. They first have to prove in a criminal setting that what you did was unlawful. And unless they can do that, no lawsuit can even begin. This changes everything. It means your home, your savings, and your future aren't up for grabs just because you protected yourself. It's one of the most powerful legal protections gun owners have ever been given. And most people don't even know it exists yet. Law 3. Police can now be held personally accountable. Here's a change that's going to...
You're supposed to...
Alright. A little more off. And I'm guilty of it too. So many people, because I try to like make a checklist of notes in my head, like, oh, he made me think of this. I want to talk about that. He might find that interesting. I'm gonna try to remember he mentioned that. So at the same time, I'm still trying to constantly listen to what you're saying. I'm making this like checklist in my head, and I wish I could like write stuff down. Like when I'm talking to people, I'm gonna start doing that in interviews and stuff. So I can just, I want to think of this too. I know other people do that. But you know what I mean? I'm thinking of all these other things, like, oh yeah, so as soon as you're done talking, I can remember, okay, he just finished talking, let me say something that pertains and relates to exactly what he just said so he knows that I'm listening, and then also bring up these other 2 referential things that I was thinking of, or 3 other, whatever, how many things I thought of to try to remember. And it's just like, I'm thinking of all these fucking things all the time, and my mind just can't keep the fuck up with it, and I just like, I just forget stuff. Like, it just gets exhausted and just fucking forgets. Because that's all I do all the time, and I'm gonna do this in one of my bits too, because it's so fucking true.
I'm actually starting to get fucking tired again. I need to fucking take another nap again. Oh my gosh.
And I ended up talking to this guy, man. And that's what I must have went out there for, and it was just to talk to this guy because all right.
This gun literally boiled water while mowing down enemies. Meet the Vickers machine gun. Britain's answer to how do we make killing more efficient? Introduced in 1912, this absolute unit spat out 500 rounds per minute of .303. But here's where it gets wild. The British engineers thought, you know what this needs? A built-in tea kettle. They wrapped the barrel in a water jacket holding 4.3 liters of water. As bullets flew out, the barrel got so hot it literally boiled the water inside. The steam would vent out through a tube into a can, and soldiers actually used this boiling water to make tea. This beast was so reliable, one Vickers fired 120,000 rounds in 12 hours during testing. That's firing nonstop for half a day. The only thing that needed changing was the barrel, twice. This gun literally boiled water while mowing down enemies. Meet the Vickers machine gun. Britain's answer to, how do we make...
All right.
Now, Alice in Chains.
All right.
All right.
A little more off the.
All right. Oh yeah. Share. Copy. This. I did that one. I think I just finished this one. Sorry, like I said in the notes there, I was getting a little carried away with I think I'm gonna start this and take a nap. I'm getting pretty tired. Let's get this started, and then I'm gonna get it started. And, get some milk and cookies. Milk and cookies time. Milk and cookies time, pumpkin. I used to love Nutty Buddies so much. That's why I taste so good. Seriously, taste the fuck all the time. Yeah, I don't want to eat my last chocolate. I don't want to eat my last chocolate tree. Oh man. Oh my goodness. I really gotta hope the money starts coming in. I keep working so hard, and I just don't ever make enough money. Crazy conversations. My cousin said, "Shit yourself, coffee brand. You will never sleep again, but you better wear a pair of pants you weren't too attached to." And I said, "Surprised Freddy didn't attack more people on the toilet."
Where there is a clear and egregious and provable miscarriage of justice. I would just ban it. I think the moment that you can basically pardon, if you're in office, anyone on your side who's done anything, that is, in a way, it's an endorsement of of crime, right? I just don't understand why people think that is a good system, and it gets abused by the left, it gets abused by the right, it gets abused by everybody, understandably. I want to just switch, Jonathan, to this appalling video that emerged from the West Bank of Israeli security forces shooting dead 2 Palestinians who, it appeared from the video that's come out and they pull up their shirts to show that they are not carrying weapons. They put their arms in the air to surrender. This was during an ongoing Israeli military operation in the city of Jenin. And you can quite clearly see them surrendering. Then you see the Israeli security forces pushing them or urging them to go back inside. And the moment they're inside, they get shot dead, executed. Now, just on the face of it, this seems like a prima facie war crime. If you have people surrendering like that and you then shoot them dead, that is an illegal execution, isn't it?
Yeah, so if the video is unedited, which I believe that it is, and I don't have any evidence to suggest that it has been edited, and I take it at face value, and if indeed what we see in the video happened, then it is a dramatic deviation from anything that is acceptable in the IDF, in combat activity or otherwise. And what currently is going on in Israel is that this is being investigated by the highest levels. The Israeli chief of staff, the commander-in-chief of the Israeli military, General Zamir, just put out a statement after having visited the place himself. This is just a few minutes ago. It's out on Israeli media, and I'm sure you'll see it soon on international media, where he says that by initial assessment, this is it raises significant questions, and that this needs to be investigated deeply. And if there indeed was, if this appears to be true, then there need to be consequences, and there will be consequences. Now, what's going on is that there's an investigation.
The little logo for this video is that Delaware guy. It's like colonial looking guy. That's I asked the AI to generate me a cold mandrake that's Delaware themed, and that's what it made. I was like, all right, it's kind cold mandrake that's Delaware themed, and that's what it made. I was like, all right, it's kind of neat. Let's go with that. I was asked there, I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I mean, that's totally, yes. Let's go with that. I was asked there, I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I mean, that's totally, yes, it's true. Let's go with that. I was asked there, I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I was asked there, I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I was asked there, I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I mean, that's totally, yes, it's true. Let's go with that. I was asked there, I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. and that's what it made. I was like, all right, it's kind of neat. Let's go with that. It was nice that I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I mean, that's totally, yes, it's true. Let's go with that. It was nice that I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I mean, that's totally, yes, it's true.
God damn it. I hate my motherfucking fingers sometimes, man. God damn it.
Let's go with that. It was nice that I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I mean, that's totally, yes, it's true. That. It was nice that I wrote down Wayne's World. Let's go with that. It was nice that I wrote down Wayne's World, Delaware. I mean, that's totally, yes, it's true.
The troops who are involved here are actually part of the police. They're a police special counterterrorism unit that operates under the military in military operations in Judea and Samaria, fighting Palestinian terrorists. The raid or the activity specifically here was many hours of hunting down terrorists that were planning attacks, and one of them had executed attacks against Israeli civilians. And they finally surrendered after they understood that they couldn't fight anymore, and then this allegedly happened. I don't like it at all. If it is indeed what happened, then I think there should be drastic measures against those involved. This type of behavior cannot be condoned, and I'll remind everybody that we've had similar but different instances in the past. In 2015 or 16, I believe it was, an Israeli soldier wrongfully shot, illegally shot a Palestinian terrorist who had tried to attack Israeli troops. That was also caught on camera, and that soldier was investigated, stripped of his ranks, and thrown into military jail.
Have any of them, Jonathan?
It was a
Jonathan,
political debate.
Look, again, I admire your candor about this, and I'm glad you say what you've said. But two observations I would make. One is that the IDF actual spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, said shots had been directed toward the two men as they exited a building. Now, we can all see that is not what happened. So that's a lie. So you've got an IDF spokesperson on the record lying
How is that a lie, Piers?
Because they were not shot as they exited a building. They've been shoved back under the building by the Israeli.
It's a pretty big omission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They came out.
shots
They
were
came out and
fired at
surrendered,
them.
and then were pushed back in
Really?
and then executed. They weren't shot as they exited the building. And the second thing I would say is you've got our old friend Ben Gvir, a national security minister, who gave his full backing to the officers involved, saying terrorists must die. And Dave Smith, I'll bring you in here. Right here, you've got two of the biggest problems in this whole war. One is that we only know about this because it was caught on camera, and it begs the question: how many more incidents like this have been going on that we don't know about? Once again, I remind people, and Jonathan, I know you agree with me about this. It is outrageous that the international media remain banned from the ground in Gaza, where they can verify what's been going on there, even though we're 7 weeks into a ceasefire, albeit one which has continued to have a lot of violence within it, but it is a ceasefire, and you still won't let the journalists in. I think it's outrageous that the Israeli government continues that ban. So you can't verify what's going on. But again, this only came to our light because of a video that was taken. And then you have people like Ben Gvir and Smotrich who don't give a damn. They would happily see all the Palestinians out of there. That's what their stated mission is.
Yes.
And the question then becomes, how much of their stated mission, which everyone on the Israeli side always tries to downplay, they're not that important, they're not this, not that. Well, they're senior members of the government. And I think, Netanyahu only got back into power by jumping into bed with these people. And I think he's been pushed ever more to the right in terms of his outlook on this. So you've got all this going on as the backdrop to this. What do you think about this video and what it represents?
Nailed it.
Presumption of guilt. The presumption is that you're trying to hide a lot of things, but just look at what we do know, Piers. We know that there's been multiple doctors in Gaza who have reported that toddlers have been used as target practice. We know that the IDF has admitted, multiple IDF soldiers and the Israeli government has admitted that they were firing live rounds into sites where people were desperately trying to get a little bit of food. Hundreds of Palestinians have been killed in this way. We know about the Where's Daddy program. We know about all types of indiscriminate killing of innocent civilians. And every single time they lie through their teeth about it. And so I'm sorry Jonathan can phrase this as that's not the...
It's a pretty eclectic mix. People somebody out here was trying to be like, oh, it's so diverse out here. I'm like, it's a pretty eclectic mix. People somebody out here was trying to be like, oh, it's so diverse out here. I'm like, it's diverse fucking everywhere. It's called motherfucking America. I know fucking people too. There's fucking different people all over the fucking world, and they're in Delaware too. I know them all. And it's just all the same. It's just it's not very big. Everybody knows everybody. It's not a big metropolitan area where people were coming in and out and touristing and running. The tourists come through to go to Ocean City and some other hot spots on the beach and stuff in Delaware, and then they go back. You know what I mean? They go to their beach houses and they go back. And then you got, like I said, everyone. There's Korean people, there's Indian people, there's fucking everybody. There's Middle Eastern people from wherever, from fucking Saudi Arabia to Pakistan to India to Iran. There's fucking Norwegian people. There's fucking people from all over the fucking place, man. Wish they wouldn't lump everybody all into one thing, but I mean, because that was something one of the guys were saying the other day, and I'm this and that and da-da-da, and people see it and I'm like, I know, but it's they try to lump everybody into to communities that aren't communities by saying this is your color and this is who you are and you're all this thing now.
all, there's an international. Well, it seems to really often be exactly what the IDF does, and nobody ever seems to be held responsible.
I mean, it's very hard, Jonathan. Jonathan, it is very hard to maintain a position that the IDF and these security forces were operating, as you say, under their command. That the IDF is the most moral army in the world. When you see them literally breaching the Geneva Convention on tape, you see them executing people who have just surrendered. That is a breach of the Geneva Convention, specifically set up to prevent these kind of crimes. If you owe back taxes to the IRS, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even upload information deficiencies, even
Piers, I think, a moment of honesty here, if we all may. It is actually quite tremendous, the level of scrutiny of the IDF and of Israel, of Prime Minister, which I'm not here to defend, but I am speaking on behalf of my country in a sense. I think that, the level of interest, scrutiny, and alleged focus and care about what happens, it is mind-boggling to see how much people allegedly care when it comes to dealing with issues that are related to Israel. And I think that there's merit to what you've been saying, and of course, seeing a video like this, it looks horrible, and that is what I said, and I believe in it. And I also believe that just like in the past, and the name of that soldier was Elor Azaria, you can check it up, what happened to him, how the IDF dealt with the issue, internal pressures, political pressures that, by the way, weren't
I very much did not get it in
unsimilar
doing
to
any
the current
gaming.
situation that the IDF is dealing
And I
with. It's a complex
apologize.
political environment where everything is sensitive, where it is Israel fighting against terrorist organizations, and where we have
For that,
politics that are involved in fighting. But at the
I
end
call
of
this
it,
same gaming. I don't even think I listed any of the games I usually play under the description. I just said what I'm doing work-wise, but I still fucking put it under gaming. I guess I'm more people than blogs. But I'm working on things that are focused around entertainment and comedy. So I really don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to list myself as. It doesn't make any sense. I need a new category. Oh, yeah. Oh, show clips. So I keep forgetting to do this. The whole thing. Copy. Not turn anything off anyways. Show clips.
long process and public debate, that soldier was held accountable for his deeds. And I believe that if these policemen are indeed at fault, which the video looks like they were, but we shouldn't be hasty in delivering a sentence here, then they will too face justice and they will face consequences.
You know my other problem,
I think
though,
that is what will
Jonathan,
happen.
my other
And
problem-
yes,
just in a
Piers,
assertion.
when you
Well, hang on,
fight,
Jonathan,
when you fight, but
I know what
Piers,
you're going to say.
when you fight,
Let me
I
just
think
say this. Here's the problem.
but I mean, let me say it. Yes. When you look at the amount of engagement, the amount of attacks, the amount of activity that Israel is forced to do every day and every night in order to defend itself, a very small percentage of activity doesn't go exactly as it is supposed to.
Yeah, but hang on, but I just got your word for it. Jonathan, Jonathan, hang on. We just have your word for that. Because the Israeli government continues to ban all international journalists, even though there's been a ceasefire for nearly 2 months.
That isn't true either, Piers, and you know it. There's been more than 60 journalists inside Gaza since the ceasefire.
There are people from Israeli government-friendly media taken in, embedded, and
international journalists.
Really? Well, why is
international journalists?
Well,
Piers.
Clarissa Ward.
60 crews have gone in,
Clarissa Ward,
including CNN and.
Okay, well, Clarissa Ward. I'm glad you mentioned CNN because Clarissa Ward is one of the top people at CNN, one of their top international journalists, and she said, "This is your scheduled reminder." She posted today that international journalists are still not allowed to report freely and independently inside Gaza. We're more than 7 weeks into this ceasefire. The previous excuse given by Israeli authorities for the banning of journalists was it was a security consideration, which was seen by many as a smokescreen, as articulated by the Committee to Protect Journalists. For 2 years, Israel sought to control the narrative on Gaza with a range of measures that are unprecedented compared to any war in modern memory, said CPJ CEO Jody Ginsburg. This includes targeted killings of Palestinian journalists, attacks on media facilities, the banning of news outlets, and the prohibition on independent media access. With a ceasefire now in place, Israel cannot be allowed to normalize this unlawful behavior. And yet here we are, she says, on Monday, December the 1st, an international journalist still cannot report freely and independently inside Gaza. And the problem is, Jonathan, and I know you agree with what I've said about this before, the problem is, it leaves us, we have to then take your word for it about how the IDF has operated, because we can't get independent word for it. And it's only when these videos come out that it looks like actually they're not the most moral army in the world at all.
Piers, that Clarissa Ward that you're quoting and singing her praise is the same Clarissa Ward that I remember shooting a selfie video with big crocodile.
I'm getting loopy. I got up early. I've been up. I guess I've only been up a little over 12 hours, which isn't too bad. I mean, right? I got up around 7. And I just been go. Since I got up. Go, work. I sat down here and started doing this stuff. And this stuff can get tiresome quick. And I'm doing other stuff. And trying to get other stuff done. My shower's leaking. But it's my fault. It's not the apartment's fault. It's my fault. It's the product I bought. Malfunctioning. So I screwed it back on. It cracked. I barely put into it. I pay. What you doing, Spaghetti Pumpkin? People want to see you. People like to see you, baby. How many did we do? 2. Alright, I'm just gonna hold up and stop and go to sleep. I'm like, oh my god. I don't know. I didn't sleep very long, I guess, last night either. I don't know. I sleep pretty good for the little bit I am sleeping. But, That's not enough. What I've done is not enough. Alright. We'll get to it though. We got all day tomorrow to do as much as we can before we get ready for work on Thursday. That'd be nice. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what you do, man? I eventually have to edit all these videos, as I know I talk and shit on all these at some point and whatnot, and here and there, and listen to things. And oh man. I wish I could amplify my thoughts. Beyond just the words that come out of my mouth. Make everything click so much easier for everyone if they just go, oh, I see how you see and think those things, and see how those things make sense, and it's like, obviously. Jesus is right. Bottom line, period. You want to question it. He is real and he is right 100% all the time. He's the source. He is the source. Alright. Hello, peace, chicken grease. Till next time. Thanks for your time and patience with me. You making them funny noises in the bedroom, buddy? What are you doing? You licking on your doodle? You want to see what he's doing. What are you doing? You licking on your doodle? I licking on your doodle. What are you doing, man, silly? You're so silly. Alright. More me and Lucius Fox.